Yeah,
Aye, Paul, aye.
yeah, because I have it in anyway. Hello and welcome to episode 40 of Celtic Rumours TV, the Bawz and Bovril podcast, with your host Mark and myself Paul. Today we'll be joined by our friend Joonas, who's a Dundee United fan, and Michael Dundee from our forum, where all Celtic fans have discussions about Celtic. If you're interested in checking it out, it's celticrumours.co.uk. Today's show is sponsored by Skpe Grooming for Men. They have forever changed the grooming game with their Performance Package 3.0 head to toe. This is the ultimate male hygiene warming. The Performance Package 3.0 comes with Lawnmower 3.0, weed whacking formulations to round out your grooming routine. Bring your boys back to life for the full 90 minutes. You probably heard of the Lawnmower 3.0, aka the best ball trimmer ever created. This is the best trimmer on the market for those in need of to shave for your testes. The third generation trim features cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents, thanks to the advanced skincare technology pioneered by Manscaped. There's even a LED light so you can see everything you're doing down there. Also includes the Weed Whacker ears and nose trimmer, which is waterproof and uses a 9000 RMP motor power 30 degrees dual blade razor. The nose and ear trimmer provides skin safe technology which helps prevent nicks, knacks and snags, tugs in those delicate holes. Look fellas, 79% of our partners admitted that nose hair is a major turn off. Why not use the best tools for the job down here? And don't forget about the liquid formations to round off your grooming game in the performance package. They got a crop cleanser, the body wash to keep your hair and skin healthy and fresh. You'll also find Manscaped's crop preserver, ball deodorant, anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturiser. You'll also find the Cop Reviver, ball toner, a testes toner that designed to give you an extra boost needs to get the job done. Look as clean and groomed as the all-time great David Beckham. Get 20% off free shipping with the code Celtic Rumours TV at manscaped.com. Jerry's balls would have thanked it for us last night in the forum. He shaved his and he got nicks and tacks. Jerry, if you used Manscaped and used their balls, moisturising toner, you wouldn't have those cuts and bruises down in your bits. On today's show, we'll talk about yesterday's Champions League's exit at the hands of Midtjylland. Who was to blame for this, and is this a wake-up call for the Celtic board? We'll take a look at the SPFL opening games and discuss Dundee United's first game against Aberdeen and Celtic's first game away to Hearts. Dundee United's pre-season preparations and how many more signings do they need to do? Dundee United and Celtic need before the transfer window closes. We'll also do a predicting the final positions of Dundee United and Celtic. First, I'll hand off to Mark for a few shout-outs.
Thanks very much, Paul. As ever, the link to the Manscaped site's in the description box below. All our links to everything's down there, our Discord, Twitter, you name it. So if you want to come on the forum or join us in the Discord, all the links for that are in the description box below this video. Just quick shout outs to the usual suspects, to Richie, Malika, Tim Alloy, Ben and Mikey. That's all ready to go.
I suppose if you want to get the lads on, Mark, Michael and Joonas, today our guests are Michael and Joonas, and Mark now will get them on the show. I told you I saw Jerry out, Mark, from the live chat forum last night's game. Told him I'd give him a bit of advice and I didn't forget it, did I?
Oh, yeah.
I bet you that light and that razor would have came in handy that day,
I still say, Paul, the boxer shorts are really the comfiest thing shorts I've worn in a long time.
I hope you've took them off, Mark, since you got them, like.
Which will last a week, I turn them in.
Since I don't back outside.
I think get Mike on. I don't actually have Joonas on my list here, Paul, so I need to get Mikey to invite Joonas in.
I'm just going on what we're hearing today, Mark, about...
Mike, you there?
Yeah, how you getting on?
Alright, bud, can you invite Joonas in, mate? I've not got him in my list of contacts. He's not showing up. I can't see him. Good man. What are you saying, Paul?
Just going while we're waiting for Joonas to come on.
Alright, lads.
Joonas, good there. Should we move?
Joonas, thanks for coming on, bud.
Cheers for having us again, guys.
Not at all, Joonas. As I said in the intro, you're a friend of the podcast, so you're more than welcome to come on. Joonas, I suppose I'd start with you. Football is back and fans are back into the stadiums for next season. Exciting times ahead, I think, from next week on.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's absolutely. I think everybody can probably attest to the fact that listening to either having to watch it on through your season ticket service with a delayed stream, or maybe even only having the radio commentary to go on and stuff like that isn't ideal. So I think everybody's just glad to get back in.
Mark, you
Dundee United allowed in, Joonas?
Well, we just released our season tickets for Rangers next Saturday, so it's all season tickets. So I've just had to email barcodes and things like that over to get a ticket and all that. So I think it's 4,800 or something like that, but that covers all season tickets sold to this point.
Oh, so nobody's getting anything to moan about then. That's...
And is there any away fans left at matches then? Joonas, or is it just going to be home fans in the stadiums for the time being? Like, will it be Celtic home fans at Parkhead, or is there going to be a certain amount of away fans in there?
Home fans only as it stands, Paul, and then the restrictions are due to be completely lifted from the following Monday here, which is August the 9th, which is 2 days after we play against Rangers, and I think it's full crowds after that.
Very good. At least there's some sortie there, Mark, coming along down the line in there for fans to get back in the stadium.
Some kind of normality anyway. It'll be good for them all, especially, no, I mean, all these guys have forked out a lot of money, Paul. Not just Celtic fans, the Dundee United fans, Aberdeen fans, a lot of them. And I don't know what Dundee United service was like, but Celtic service for that last season wasn't exactly what you would call top notch. I mean, all this extra value they spoke, you would never really
Never,
done anything like that. So
never got
guys
it.
that go to games to get back into it.
And Michael, forgot about you being quiet in the back there. Welcome back, brother.
It was quite good hearing Joonas going on about that. He can't wait to get back. I mean, if I got offered a free ticket at the moment for Hearts, I wouldn't go after the last night. So
We'll move on. So, in 2014, it was Maryborough. In 2015, it was Malmo. In 2018, it was AK Athens. In 2018, it was Cluj. In 2020, it was Fenerbahce. And in 2021, it was Midtjylland. Again, this has become the norm for Celtic. Mark, Celtic seem to just fall at the qualifiers every season for the last couple of seasons. Two teams that I would say are lesser than Celtic. But why is...
It's been bad planning for years. And what's happened this year, I know it's got a lot to do with the board and that now, but it's still like a continuation of last season. I mean, the bad planning that we've had over the years has all came to fruition, like we spoke about, the amount of players out of contract, the amount of players wanting to leave, the amount of players with their loans expiring and things like that. So, again, it was just bad planning. So hopefully next year we've learned from it this year.
Learn from it.
Oh, that we need to do something.
Mikey, where did it go wrong? You know, the two lads, I thought, had a good game at the back. We thought Welch and Murray would be our weakness, but I thought Taylor had an atrocious game last night.
The only people to blame for this whole mess is the board.
Mm-hmm.
There's no blame apart from Edward.
Exactly.
In that starting 11 last night, that should have any of the blame. Edward's performance was disgusting. It's probably the worst performance I've ever seen.
Yeah.
The worst performance I've ever seen for a Celtic player in many a time. The sheer laziness for that guy. Like it says, the fact that Eric Sviatchenko is running the show at the back, and people are trying to tell me that he's worth 20 plus million. He looked like a donkey.
And he was
actually a donkey would have put up a better game than that. Actually,
Shevchenko was even outrunning Edward yesterday. Shevchenko won every single high ball. He had Edward in his pockets, and Edward just didn't want to be there. But my concern about that, Mickey, is Ayesi not fit, or does he not fit into Andrew's plans that were constantly Edward?
What I didn't understand about the whole thing is the whole of pre-season, I've said it before,
Exactly.
Ayeti was playing and starting and was the captain. But yet in the important games in qualification, he went with Edward, but never played Edward in the... I didn't understand. Like, what's been on there. Like I said, Edward's obviously not wanting to be there. And like I said, I've been on here loads of times and ridiculed Ryan Christie, and I've said my piece on him. But that guy, since pre-season, whether he's wanting to move away or no, he's going to put it in the right way.
And he did. You have to get myself and Mark were discussing that today, Mark, weren't we? That look, we gave out about Christie and rightly so, but you can't fault Christie for the effort that he gave pre-season.
Putting in a shift. That's what I said to you the day. You can't fault him for that. He's putting in a shift and he's stuck out in either wing. So he's not actually in his comfortable zone kind of thing. So I gave him pelters as well, but our pre-season, I agree with Mikey. I can't really fault what Christie's done.
But Mark, do you think maybe, and I was listening to the commentary last night, and Michael Stewart was saying it, and Chris Sutton was saying it, like that our bench is weak and stuff like that. And does he actually fit into Andrew's plans that he's not playing in it? Do you know what I mean? That's my main concern, is that if he isn't his plans, why isn't he playing him? And if he doesn't, fair enough, sell him on. But then we have no strikers because Edward doesn't want to be there, and we don't know what type of striker Lee Griffiths is going to be next season.
But
you know,
But even down to Edward, it doesn't matter if Edward's going to fit into Angie's system or no. We know that he doesn't want to.
They won't turn up.
Isn't
Yeah.
he? And probably chances are isn't he going to be here? So if, go, you should have went with a Yeti just for the simple reason the guy's either going to be sold or he's going to be here for this season at the least to give him a chance.
I think
We said it, JFP said it as well after that
the Rangers game.
He should never have got back near a Celtic starting team again.
And I think if he had a match face James Forrest, that chance would have been. I think that miss was a lack of game time by James Forrest.
Yeah, like I say, I can kind of see it. I would expect a professional football player
to score that.
To score that within a year. I mean, and I didn't want to go back to my cameo at the charity game, but I still managed to pop in. That was a bit. I still managed to pop in a goal for that range, with one leg, So.
But if you're not up to scratch and if you're not match fit, like your concentration isn't there. Do you get me?
Yeah, like I say, he's never really been a goal scorer
out, like when he kind of fell to the wrong person, really, like didn't it?
And like I say, I understand what you were saying regarding like Taylor and that. He never had a great game or that, but we've known that for Taylor anyway. We've all said that he's a good Scottish SPL player.
Yeah.
At best. So when he has the performances in Europe, I mean, nobody's shocked, You know what I mean? Like.
But even watching the game, and I come to Joonas in this one because I want an outside view. It looked like a very similar Celtic team to last season, Joonas, didn't it? Last night we were giving the ball away so cheaply. Players seemed to be up to scratch with the game. We were slow. We were giving the ball away.
I actually thought watching it, like first half, that Celtic actually probably dominated the bulk of the possession without really doing a huge amount with it. But then, I mean, it doesn't help when you've got a goalkeeper behind you that doesn't instill. If you've got two young boys at the back,
that set the tone, didn't it? When Bain missed the ball.
You've got two young boys at the back, right? And the thing is, if the goalkeeper behind them's not having the best game, then the jitter's setting for the Bairns that are sort of in front of him. And I thought the two guys at the back had a good game, but like you say, it was just disjointed. But it doesn't help as well when, like you say. And again, this is not me trying to put the boot into Celtic because I'm just an observer from outside, but it seems like they seem to go into the qualification unprepared every season. They know when it starts, but it seems that they're year after year, they're always unprepared for it. So it's becoming a common feature of them, and it needs addressed. And you would think after all this time they would have sorted it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what in a nutshell, Mark, isn't it?
Well, that's an outsider can see. He said exactly what we just said earlier on. It's just Celtic seems to be a common theme every year that we struggle against teams that are not financially rich. Their leagues, I mean, their leagues are probably more challenging than our leagues, but at a higher kind of level. You don't. Their teams are all more lower down, that kind of idea. But I thought we'd have got through against Midtjylland. I thought we would have too much for them, but
I thought Mark Bain set the tone for the defence when he missed that cross, and when he jumped down to smother the ball in the ball reach. I think that's when, as Joonas says there, like that's when the jish was set into that back line. Then didn't it? Like if you don't have confidence from behind you, like you know what I mean?
No, definitely. Many times have we spoke about the confidence in the goalkeeper. It needs playing a settled defence and things like that in front of him. But, I mean, it's just, as I said, it's obvious to everybody, and yet Celtic just repeated the same mistakes. I just hope that we've learned for next season that we can't get into this next year's, whatever it is, Champions League qualifiers.
My thinking on that, Mark, and it's just mine, is that it sets the tone for Celtic season. If we get into the Champions League, we'll go out, we'll spend money, we get best players and stuff like that in, and then if we don't, we sell our assets, and then we're scraping then to get players in then on the thing that seems to be the thing for every season.
You like that?
But that's the way it's kind of same that way, because, and I go to the board in a few minutes, like, because Dominic McCoy is only in the door, and we can't put blame on Dominic McCoy. There was people last night called for Dominic McCoy's head when he's only in the door, when there's still people on that board that have been with Peter Lord for years. And I looked at the board members today, Mark, and these board members, Mark, have been on the board for years. So that's why we're not going to see no change this season in the transfer window, I think, but we might see it maybe in January or the year after.
But it's not even. It's not like the way that during the windows, Paul. I'm talking about the way they planned.
Mm-hmm.
We knew Ayer was going away. We knew Edward was
Exactly.
away. We had all these loan signings in the squad. So it's just a culmination of poor planning that's went on for the last 2 or 3 years at Celtic. For Brendan Rodgers left, things have just. This has been the culmination of a clusterfuck. And
It
this
shows when you don't have a quality manager, Mark, who knows what they're doing in your squad. Do you know what I mean?
manager is the people above him.
Above him.
I mean, see, for Dermot Desmond to be such a hard-nosed businessman and that, I kind of can't get my head around why you let Celtic be run the way he does.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no way Dermot Desmond would sit back and take his kind of level of failures in any of his other businesses, grossing out in 30-odd million every year.
Mm-hmm. Michael, I remember we had yourself and Barry on the podcast. It's when Ange came in and we were talking about it's just when he came in after the Eddie Howe fiasco, and then he came in and we talked about what needs to be done now and stuff like that. And we talked about getting the players who don't want to be there out and have the replacements in already. And the only person we saw that's of evidence is Starfelt, because he came in straight after. But Starfelt should have been in before as well, before this this match. That we know that he was going to go. He wasn't going to be playing again for the club, you know.
I said that the last time with the money that Ayer was bringing in, 30.5 million. Like it says, that was that they knew that money was coming in, so they could have had players signed well in advance and still covered cost if that was what they were worried about. Regarding players in, but even the rumour of the day, it's irritating me because I said it when the podcast first started, like Joe Hart and stuff, and Joonas knows that I've always rated Joe Hart as a goalkeeper. Every goalkeeper has a mistake in him, and I said when he was free agent that it was a no-brainer to sign him on a free, and everybody's like, oh nah, he's no good enough, he's finished and everything, this, that, and the next thing, and then again today they're linked to him, and it looks like he is going to come in. I understand, like,
Joe Hart will bring the experience that's needed, Michael, and I agree to there, like, there's a mistake in every keeper make a mistake, but Joe Hart will have the experience. I think that's what's needed for such a young defence, and he'll be able to position them properly where they need to be positioned. Do you get me? You know, because that's what we're not seeing, like, you know.
Joe Hart comes into Celtic, he'll be outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
He'll thrive on the confidence in that as well. Okay, everybody say, oh well, our defence isn't good. Once we get Starfelt and hopefully we get that Aurelia boot in the right back and get another couple of defenders in that, and then you're starting to actually shape up, like you says, like you've got a decent team, eh? Like it says, and even like the Joe Hart should have been brought in the first place. The rumour was that he was wanting to come to Celtic last year, but went elsewhere on a free. And now it's came out now that the only thing that's holding up Joe Hart to
Celtic, the 500k,
is because Celtic didn't want to pay anything for him.
Mm-hmm.
In typical Celtic fashion, but we need a goalkeeper. 500,000 for a goalkeeper like him. If that is what the fee that is getting bandied about, he's only just turned 34.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it's just idiotic for Celtic as per usual. And and I didn't like Ange coming out as well after the match and laying the blame at himself regarding maybe he wasn't maybe it was his fault about the players coming in that because he never identified or whatever it was he said. He said the only people to blame here is the board. They got their season ticket sales. They got their shirt sales when it first came out. What are the money? And now look. Like he says, when it came to the Champions League, I never had any expectations of getting in the group stages this year. It was all hope. Celtic would have got absolutely pumped for PSV. It would have been embarrassing. But the whole point of getting past Michelin was it was automatic group stages for the Europa League. Mm-hmm. Now we've got to go and play this Polish team, and Joonas knows a lot about Polish football now as well, so he'll tell you.
And they're Polish, are they?
And that'll not be an easy game.
They're Czech.
That'll not be an easy game, eh?
No.
Are they not Czech?
Czech Republic, yeah.
Czech Republic,
Czech Republic, yeah.
And I was looking at them, Joonas, and I just tipped it there because my thing, I watch a lot of Polish soccer as well, you know, because my wife's from Poland and stuff like that. And the Eastern European leagues, you know, they're tough leagues and they're physical teams. And this is no easy job for Celtic either.
No, well, I think we're well past the stages of when those sort of leagues were deemed as the deep, dark backwater leagues of Eastern Europe, when you were coming up against farmers or you were coming against boys that were maybe semi-professional. They're top level leagues, all these. Like look at Slavia. I can't remember who it was, Sparta. I can't remember who Rangers played, and look at their run, pumped Leicester out and stuff like that. So, and that's a team for the Czech Republic. So they're under no illusions about how tough it's going to be, and there's certainly no mugs in these divisions anymore. That's for sure.
No, they're watching the Polish league there and stuff like that. You know, it's like these are top notch freaking professional football players, and they're not old either. These are young lads in their league. You know what I mean? And they're fit young lads as well. Like. You know?
Yeah, it's good quality. Like I say, I watch a bit of the extra class as well because I've got obviously Premier Sports, and you see a bit of coverage on there, and you get there's no mugs in amongst these outfits. Even going back to when Dundee United played against Slask Wroclaw when we played them in 2011, they beat us over 2 legs. You know what I mean? So there are no mugs these outfits.
No, and even like that, like considering if we don't get players in, Jonas, by the time this match comes around next Thursday. Celtic could be in a big battle here, like, you know, to get through to the freaking Europa League. You know,
it's like you say, it's crucial that hopefully, like, you've got a couple of boys back for like quarantine or whatever, and then if you've got any other transfers in that coming in, but like you say, it looks as if there needs to be. Well, there's a lot of work to do. Like, you know what I mean? Certainly, no illusions of that being the case.
So moving on from last night's disappointment, and we'll talk about the Europa League qualifiers near to the day. So we're now going to move on to both. So when Peter Lawwell came CEO in 2003 and replaced Ian McLeod, he inherited a squad of players like Mo Siller, Jackie McNamara, Joost van Harden, Bobo Balde, Henrik Larsson, Alan Thompson, John Hartson, Steve Payson, David Fernandez, Paul Lambert, Bobby Petter, Yorick Larsson, Neil Lennon, Stilian Petrov, Rob Douglas, David Marshall and Mike McGovern, all leaders within their own right on this team. When he left Celtic in the 1st July this year, Dominic McCoy inherited a depleted squad left by Peter Lawwell. We had Barkas not good enough, Bain not good enough, Hazard not good enough, Julian not fit, constantly injured, Taylor not good enough. Bongoli, we don't know what's happening with his situation. Leo Connor injured, U player promoted to the first team. Dane Murray, U player promoted to the first team. Adam Montgomery, U player promoted to the first team. Anthony Radson, not good enough. Stephen Welch, U player again promoted. Neil Beaton is finished. Zora, question marks over whether he can be Brown's replacement. So then we have our more senior players. We have David Turner, Roy Christie, who wants to leave the club. Roger is finished. Mickey Johnson, constantly injured, again, not good enough. Encham wants away from the club, but still not. He's still here and wants to stay. We've captain Callum McGregor. We've James Forrest. We've Owen Henderson, another U player promoted to the first team. We've Carl McInroy, a U player promoted to the first team. Kamoka Dembele, U player promoted to the first team. Lee Griffiths, again, which Lee Griffiths is going to be torn up next season. Ayesi, question marks over whether he's going to be number one striker. Edward, we know how we feel about him, and we've young Jonathan Alaphobia, who I talked to Jones about in a few minutes. Saying, Matt, considering what Peter Lawwell and all the good he's done with him, but he really left Celtic squad in a real disgrace, didn't he?
Tatters, Paul. It really is. There's no other word to describe it. Everybody knew what we were going to need this summer, because we knew who was wanting to leave. We knew, we're desperate for a right back, absolutely desperate. You'd have thought that would have been one of the priorities to get a right back in. That Boot, is that how you just pronounce it the way it's said? I mean,
young lad Boota, yeah.
Even about him, so hopefully it's we've spoke about it on our teams. There's all these different factors that can hold up transfers in that, but
my thing here, Mark, is that, look, we all know we want to pass away for a youth system and we want them to experience first team football. But our whole squad at the moment, Mark, because we have the lack of experience in senior players, we're flooded with our youth system who aren't able at the moment, Mark, to take that step up and win Celtic the league next season. Do you know what I mean?
No, those like first choice players, but they'll have their parts to play, Paul. But they can't. We know what we can. We know. Well, Starfelt will start on Saturday night. There's no question about that. So he'll be starting. So that's kind of hopefully going to shore up the defence. I don't know if Joe Hart signs the night of the Mora, would he throw him into Saturday night's game?
I think he has to, Mark. Yeah, definitely. I think he has to. Do you know what I mean? That, geez, like you can't. There's a blunder in our two keepers. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think Hazard is nearly away, Mark, considering he hasn't been on the bench for the last 2 games.
Aye, well maybe that. Aye. Maybe.
You know?
Do you think you could throw Hart in for Saturday night?
Sorry, 100%.
Aye.
Like I say, if Joe Hart's available, he's a must right now. Get him in. He wouldn't need the usual breaking in period or anything like that. He's been in the UK game for. He went to Italy to play for Torino for a season. Like he's again, it's all even going back to like last season and that. Like when he was available on a free transfer, just get the guy in. People can say what they want about the guy or he's never played that much in the last few years and this, that, and next thing. He's a top goalkeeper, and like you said, he's still at a good age as well. So, like I said, that should have been the keeper we should have got in the first place.
Joonas, if looking at the outside there from yourself, like, and the squad there, like named out for Celtic, like any team in Scotland wouldn't be fair in Celtic next season unless we do some major signings.
No, well, at the end of the day, like, let's be honest, it's probably the strongest the division that you've had in years. Well, obviously, Rangers, Celtic, Aberdeen, Dundee United, Dundee, Hibs, and Hearts. And all those sides, and even the likes of Livingston, because of that daft plastic pitch and everything, right? Every single one of those teams away from home, even when Celtic are on their game,
it's a tough ask.
Rangers are on their game, is a tough ask. So if you're going into it well depleted, it's even more of a difficult game. And that's been the case. Even when Celtic won 9 in a row, they still went to grounds and had to grind out results. It wasn't champagne football every week. So it's certainly going to be more difficult if there isn't recruitment. That's certainly the case, you know.
And this young lad, Joonas, that he was on loan with yourselves last season, and he got off to a good start, but then he faded away, was Jonathan Alafobi. What's your take on him? Because I get the impression that he's a player that's never going to make it at Celtic.
Well, he was actually on loan with Dundee, wasn't it? Dundee. But going just from what my Dundee supporting pals said and stuff, like I say, he wasn't really getting in as a first choice. He had a few appearances off the bench and nicked a couple of goals, but then Dundee sort of hit a vein of form, and I think once they brought in Jason Cummins and stuff like that, he didn't get much of a look in, a few sub-appearances, so I'm not that well versed to comment on what he was like, but if you're not, he wasn't setting the heather alight anyway.
Exactly.
So that gives you an indication of what he was like there, like, you know. Exactly.
So currently on the board, and it's the same. The same cronies have been here a long time with Peter Lord. We have Ian Barker's been at Celtic since 2011. Christopher McCoy has been there since 2016. Michael Nixon has been here since 2013. Thomas Allahinson has been here since 2001. Sharon Blums 2016. And Bob Wilson has been there since 2005. And my take is that as long as these lads, and especially in Banker, I think, is that it's going to be a long time, I think, for Dominic McCoy to implement change if these lads are still on the board. And how hard is it to replace lads on the board, Mark? Is it very hard, or is it difficult? Or because as long as they're there, I think Celtic are only going to be withheld in some areas that the club need to progress to.
Well, unless they decide to stand down, Paul, we need to be need to be voted off, and that can't happen. But the shares, the way the shares are with Dermot Desmond, and just basically what they want to get through gets through. So they just like automatically get re-voted onto the board every year at the AGM.
This is a long time, Mark, that these board members have been there. Like some of them are going back, like Ian Baker's going back to 2011, Thomas Alson's going back to 2001. Like they've been at the club a long time, and if you're in a job that long, you're stuck in your ways, and you're very hard to adjust to change. And that's why I have concerns that how much of a change will Dominic McKay be able to do with these lads still there, you know?
Well, that's the thing. It just seems to be rolling on. But we've said it for years, Paul. We need a different football. That's went cold. Do you know what I mean? So see when you've got, see the board again. It goes back to it shouldn't matter who's on the board. The board should be listening to guys like Dom Mackay on one. Do you get what I mean? Ange the new a director of football. They should be in, and then it's up to these guys to force the board to change their way of thinking. Either that,
it's the opposite. It seems to be happening the opposite way. That these lads are putting these ideas onto the Celtic manager and the Celtic chief executive, don't they? That's the way.
Even try just even get one or two new board members on just to kind of freshen things up with some kind of modern ideas. I mean, what age is that Ian Bankier?
He must be well into his 60s now, Mark. I said at least.
But it's, you know, it's up to it's going to come down to. I can see her kind of maybe being over the season, will be a kind of maybe battle of walls about how the club's got.
Well, what would be his take? What would be his role as chairman? Does any of you know? What would be his role as a? To be honest, would you have any idea what a role of a chairman would be at a football club if we have your CEO and your director?
Is that, sorry, you asking me that question?
Yeah, would you have any idea what a role of a chairman would be at a club? Or
before we go into that Ian Bankier, a way to go and turn 70.
70? I mean, that shows you you've got a 70-year-old chairman. And it's not even, I mean, it's not even like a kind of...
Well, he's not even at that age, Mark. He's not even going to be up to date of the modern football. Do you get me? How things work, like, you know what I mean? You know? That's why...
No, it's...
sorry,
I mean, it's not as if it's a kind of honorary role. Do you know what I mean? He's actively involved in the decision making of the club, and I mean, sure.
And I have to.
So I mean, I joked about it in that about Peter Lowe becoming chairman, but Peter Lowe supposedly turned it down. There was talk of Peter Lowe becoming chairman, but he obviously, it wasn't obviously, he actually turned it down because he didn't think the fans would accept him just going from the CEO to the chairman. But I wouldn't be surprised if Peter Lowe ends up the chairman maybe next summer or something like that.
Could it, if I think, Mark, if Ian Bankier steps down, I think he'll be the only one in mind for Dermot Desmond to take that role. Do you know what I mean?
Honestly, I can see that happening.
You know, Mikey, do you think is it time for Celtic to cut their losses with Dermot Desmond and have a new owner of the club and fresh ideas come into the club, or can we move forward with Dermot Desmond at board level?
I've never really had I'm not really interested about board and levels and chairmans and directors of football is different. No, because I'm just wanting to watch Celtic and watch a decent product on the pitch when you're paying for season tickets and spending hundreds of pounds on kits and stuff. And I can only go on previous years, and Dermot Desmond's been putting his hand in his pocket. So it's the recruitment that's the problem. It doesn't seem to be the money that's being spent. You know what I mean? So like people can blame Dermot Desmond this, that, but at the end of the day, the money is there. The money is being spent. It's just been getting spent wrong for years.
You only see did a big, huge reconstruction on the Year Club when the new owners came in. He kind of ripped down everything at board level and made them more up to date. You even have a football director, I believe you do, don't you? That oversees the football. Is it a football operations he call it, something like that?
We've got a sporting director, yeah.
Yeah, it's more or less the same, but a kind of a different kind of a name to it, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, realistically, a lot of the time now the way it works is chairman or chief executives or CEOs or whatever you want to call them are sort of the businessmen, the money men. So normally the director of football or the sporting director are brought in to deal with more the sporting side of it and that sort of affairs. So that would be what, like you say, I would entail, and that would be a structure that you would probably like to adopt if you're going down that route, because you need someone that knows the game. If you've got the money men, they deal with the figures, let them deal with the commercial, bringing revenue into the club, promoting the brand. Then just get the football guy on the ground to deal with the football side of it and help the manager and the coaching staff to identify players and run that side of it.
That's what I was reading about Dundee United when I was doing up the reports there when the American owners came in. He saw that there was problems behind the scenes, and he rectified it over bad spending. There was debt there and stuff like that, and he came in and he reflected all that, and he made the changes at board level that needed to be changed, and that has just been a benefit to Dundee United going forward and where the club is today.
Yeah, exactly. It's just important to have the right structure there, because there was people there doing jobs that they weren't capable of doing. You know what I mean? So bringing the people it's the same as you wouldn't get a Sparky to go and plumb a house in, or you wouldn't get a roofer to go and do an electrician's job. So it's the same in football. You know what I mean?
That's a fair point there, Mark. You won't get a Sparky to do a plumbing job. You won't get a roofer to fix a kitchen. You know what I mean? Celtic really need to have the right people in the right positions in the foot. And when I was reading about Dundee United, Mark, he really put in a structure that suits the club, and he put the right people into the right areas. That's something that Dominic McKay needs to do. And until he does that, we're not going to see the change that we need to see at board level.
No, and Joonas is spot on there. We've said it ourselves. Leave the businessmen to make the business decisions, and football people make the football decisions. I mean, I'm not meaning anything against Joonas, but that's no rocket science. Do you know just what you're saying? You don't send somebody, if they're not capable of doing the job, you don't get them to do it. And that was, I keep harping on about it, that was a problem under Peter Lawwell. He was making decisions that he shouldn't have been making.
Shouldn't have been making, Mark. And my question is, Mark, then, was he not, this is my own thought, was he not maybe bringing in the right people into these positions, Mark, so, again, he could oversee something that wasn't his area within the club?
Well,
do you get me?
Well, we got by with John Park. Do you get what I mean? But again, John Park was coming up with these players and things like that. So it was always going to be a decent level of player. Do you know what I mean? Most of the time they were decent players. But once John Park left, it was to me it was just the scouts and these kids of recruitment that came and went. Your Nick Campbell
never replaced him.
But the final decision was always been made by Lawwell. Do you know what? And I think he maybe trusted John Park a lot more than maybe trusted others. So if Park said sign him.
Do you think that's why maybe Nick Hammond left, so Mark, that he wasn't able to kind of do the job that he was meant to be, and he was recommending players to Peace Law, and Peace Law wasn't signing the players he was recommending?
Well, I don't think that's maybe it affected his kind of decision to leave. Whether he jumped, whether he was pushed, we'll never really know. But we've spoke about Ivan Toney, that Omar Colley, the fair Natalie.
Yeah, the Sampdoria lad, yeah.
Players were lined up and Peter Lawwell dropped the ball. And so, again, it's just people that shouldn't be making these decisions, making the decisions and making them, approaching them from the wrong angle. Peter Lawwell, I mean, seems to do that's 2 million on your players, buy you and Ben you and all these kind of players.
Exactly.
Why not spend £5 million on one player? Knowing that it's something, even like last summer when we done it with a Yeti, right? We spent £5 million on him, which again turned out to be a bit big.
3.5 million on Camilla. That's 8 million that we could have got Tony from there straight away, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. But as I said as well, I think Tony would have Edwards' replacement.
And that's what I wanted to.
I don't think Tony would have come in while Edward was here.
And that's why.
Two of them weren't going to get in a team.
And that's what I want to talk to you, Mark, about Edward. Now, if no bid comes in for him and we're stuck with him for next season, which pray to God we're not, is that going to stop Celtic from signing another striker like we did with Tony because Edward is still there?
Sorry, you broke up a
Well,
bit, Paul.
Sorry, Mark. What I was saying, right? If Edward actually stays, right, and no bid comes in that Celtic want, right, and if we're stuck with Edward for another season, are Celtic not going to sign another striker now because Edward be still in the books for next season, and is that going to hinder our season for next season because we have a player who doesn't want to be there again next season?
No, I don't think Edward will be here by the time his transfer window shuts, Paul. I don't even think it's worth considering that.
Perfect. There's your answer. Jonas, I want to come back to you. Now, because our defence is so depleted this season, and a lot of that is dependent on Celtic not buying players permanently, and we did a lot of loan signings over the years, but we did more loan signings last season. We had Diego Lascelles in the back line, we Duffy in the back line, we John Jockey, and their deals ran out. They went back to their older clubs. Do you agree with loan signings and maybe flooding your squad with loan signings, or what's your take on them?
my view on loan signings, just based on how things run at Dundee United, is because of the financial market that we operate in is obviously different to what you lads operate in. As a loan signings are quite beneficial for clubs like us in the sense that we can maybe get someone who's got a year left on their deal and then sign them on a pre-contract in January or whatever, because we can't afford the fee up front.
Exactly.
But I think even for you guys it could be beneficial, but only if you've got one or two positions. I wouldn't be, like you say, the problem is if you go and like make a lot of loan signings like what you had last year, if you go into the realms of 4, 5, 6 loan signings, then you're, and say 5 or 6 of them play, that's 50% of your starting lineup ripped out before a ball's been kicked for the next season, unless you can do deals to keep them. So I think it's a good market, but only in moderation. I wouldn't rely on it too heavily.
See, I think I don't mind Celtic getting loans. See, like players like Craig Bellamy, Robbie Keane. I don't mind Celtic getting loan signings in like that, or even probably Joonas. Somebody that's going to be a wee bit different to give you something a wee bit different, a wee bit better than you're used to, Joonas.
No, I definitely agree with that, Mark. The point I was making was like you don't want to saturate your squad with too many loan signings. Like I says to you, I've used it well in the past with boys like that coming in because it supplemented a good squad that's already there. But the problem, like what Paul was saying, because you've had that many, okay, they didn't all work out. But if you've got too many of them, say they do become integral parts of your starting lineup, then you're kind of snookered for the next season because you might be losing 50% of your starting team, you know?
That's what's happened basically in our two full-back positions this summer. No, I mean we've not even got a right back.
Yeah.
Mikey, do you want to come in here on anything there with the loan signing deals?
I hate loan signing. I guess you can't loan that normally needs bad and means you need to dig out or something. But I mean, I don't like it. Like you say, I don't want to loan a squad. I want to own it. Like you say, exactly what he says, what Mark says, if you're getting a world-class player, which Craig Bellamy and Robbie Keane was at the time. They were at the peak of their playing careers. You didn't mind getting a loan. That's the kind of loans that should only be. But some of the loan players that we've had over the years, Jesus, God, I mean, just tripe like
Even this, Mikey, Laxalt.
But Mark, even
Jonas will tell you about Laxalt, and like I said, I've said it on here before. When we watch Serie A and we've been to see Atalanta a good few times now, like we've said in the past, and we've seen him playing that. Laxalt was a top left winger. He was never ever a fullback ever. That's what I never like. And Jonas will tell you, like I never ever understood him as a left back.
Even when he was at Milan and that, he was playing as a left winger.
Yeah.
I didn't
exactly.
know that.
But like what Mikey said there as well, I think just to touch on the loan signing thing as well, a lot of the time as well, you find that loan signings all think, well, this isn't my parent club, so they're really committed to the cause. Because at the end of the day, we had Luke Bolton on loan last season from Man City, and whether or not it's true, the rumours are that he was on $9,000 a week or something at Man City, so I don't know what portion we were paying of his wage, but I can guarantee you now that he wasn't sitting there on a Saturday night depressed because Dundee United lost the game because he's getting $9,000 a week in his bank account and he's going back to Man City.
And I have to agree with you with that because I always have that thing about loan signings that they don't care because they're going to be leaving the club anyway at the end of the season. Do you know what I mean? They're going back to their parent club. You know, I think what Mark was saying, like, we need to bring in a loan sign if it's better than what we have. But that was the problem with Celtic, is that we didn't bring in loan signs better than the players we had. Do you know what I mean?
All they were with stopgaps.
You know,
John Kenny.
yeah.
That was what I was going to say, Mark. That's what I was going to say. I can't believe Celtic Football Club loaned John Joe Kenny as the right back. I actually kind of, like it says, it pisses me off even hearing his name, and I didn't normally like to swear or that, but it's just getting more talking about this. I mean, they loaned him, that guy, that played in the, like I said before, in the worst Schalke team in history. The worst, the worst right backs I've ever seen at Celtic, and they signed him, and that was our full-backs. A left-back that wasn't even a left-back, and a right-back that wouldn't get a game for Everton reserves.
Who do you think's better, Taylor or John Joe Kenny?
I like I said before, Taylor gets a lot of bad rep, but I actually think Taylor's actually no bad. Like you says,
I'd say Taylor was better than John Joe Kenny.
I mean, Taylor's actually a decent player at SPFL level. Like, I'll argue that the case. Like you says, there's only so much we can do in Europe. We're never going to win any European competition. So people have got to be realistic regarding like quality in their positions. But I mean, like you says, but like the guy that we've linked in the past, like that, really about in that the right back, he takes you up he's a different level of player. Like, that's getting back to like Didier Regat and that, and Jackie Mark days. And that's the kind of level he is. No John Joe Kenny. I just didn't understand that loan sign. I never understood it. Because Ralston was better than him. And if we're playing Ralston now, how did you play Ralston last season?
I thought Ralston had done no bad last night.
Yeah, well, he was probably in the Celtic's best players. Like I said, I'll be fair. I'm fair with everybody. If they're a good game, they're a good game. And if they're bad, then they'll get called pitch. It's as simple as that. And
I just can't see Taylor fitting into Andrew's system. I think Taylor's too slow to fit into Andrew's system. You know, he was getting back there, getting forward there, but he was very late in getting back, and he was caught out of position too many times yesterday trying to get back into his position. I think Taylor doesn't have the pace to fit into Andrew's style of play.
What's he playing? Well, if that's the case, then what's he playing him for?
No one else. I think Bolingoli would have been a more player to play than Taylor did into Andrew's system.
Right, checked that. One about loan signings, and I remember Paul saying that his missus was Polish. I just then remembered another horrible loan deal. Remember we got that Paweł Broziek on loan? The striker, remember, he played 3 games or something for us. That's the loan market that Celtic have been dabbling in the last few years.
Did he not come back to haunt us there in a Champions League game there recently, did he? Or was that another fella that came back?
After Celtic, he went to Spain and then went back to Poland again, so we never ever seen him again. Like I say. I mean, we've sat on this podcast week after week trying to like be positive, try to put a decent spin on everything. I mean, and I'm trying to like be as nice as I could, but I can't be positive anymore. Like the season's not even kicked off, and I'm done.
It's hard, Brent. We spoke about that the other day, Mikey. We've tried to keep things a bit.
Yeah, we're trying.
But my taking it, right?
After sitting here watching that last night, especially.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I went to go on the forum and that, and I seen a lot of people replying. I couldn't even bring myself to write anything because it just would have been horrific. Yeah.
Well, we were meant to be going on for a wee hour after the game last night, and I'd after the live chat, and I knew it was going on the forum. I was just like, "Oh, sack that, Paul, man, I can't."
But as I have faith. Like I think, right, if I'm led to believe that Ange has a take on the players that's coming in, and he's identifying some of these players that the thing that he's having a look over, and he's seeing if Ange gets the right players in, right, and my main concern is, right, that if we don't get them in fast, that we're going to slip behind Rangers already, and we're going to have a mountain decline. But if we get the players in, and Ange gets them bled into our team, I can't see a team stopping us because we'd be too fast. But that all depends on the board and getting the players in and getting the players in now. That's the problem. Ange can't play his philosophy at the moment at Celtic because he wants to play out the back, and he can't play out from the back because he doesn't have the players to play out from the back. Taylor's not a footballer. Anthony Vance is not a footballer. You can't depend on 2 young lads to do the job that Ange wants them to do. You know, Starfelt now fits into the role that he wants. He wants his defence to be there but be able to pass the ball. And Ange can't play the way he wants because he doesn't have the players to do it.
I think what's irritating me as well is the players, and whether it's LinkedIn, the kind of the press and that, like just pluck names and that. But the names that we are linked in the press, they're nearly all of them excite me. Yeah, that's what's making it worse. But look at like the other day when the guy Gianluca Lapadula was like linked to us. I couldn't believe that we were getting linked to him because he scored 20 plus goals for us every season. He's probably one of the most hard working strikers that I've seen. I remember when he went and played for Milan and that, and people were saying, "Oh, he's 31. He'll not be good enough for us. Look at his goal scoring record and that." Again, Joonas will tell you yourself, like Lapadula, if there was a chance of getting him. That's a player that you would want, eh?
Joonas Celtic's problem is, and the prime example there that Mikey said there at the start is with Joe Hart. Like they're hovering over the fucking 500k for Joe Hart, and that's been Celtic's problem. The players valued well within Celtic's budget, and Celtic aren't bidding nowhere near to the value that the teams want for their players. And then we miss out on their attack, and that's why we're getting second best. Celtic should be putting down a marker. Give the price, get the price, or give it nearest that we can, maybe add-ons, and just get the player in. You know?
Yeah, I think there's too much of the sort of penny pinching approach, maybe. Just from the outside looking in, like I say, 500,000 with the money that Celtic should have in the bank should be, sweetie money, really. So
if even your lad like Seagast is valued like
Mikey, get any half Mikey.
You need two people to lift
That was a private chat.
Mikey's actually got his own team of employees just to carry his wallet, just in case you boys didn't know that,
So we're going to move on from the board. I think we can rant about the board all night. Will it change, Mark? Do you think the board, or it looks very doubtful, really, don't it? Unless Ian Baker stands down, I think that's when the change will follow. I think.
What? I mean, they've kind of fumbled their way through the window again, Paul. But as I've said on the forum as well, let's wait to the end of the window, see what's happened. And then we'll see as the club moves forward whether the board that we've got now is buying into these new ideas. And if it's not, then something's got to give one way or another.
That's what I'm saying, Mark. We're going to know.
We can't just keep plodding on. What I'm saying about getting to next season and we're back in the same position, kind of. I mean, Ange said it himself about signing players. He could go out and sign players now that would come in and play and do a job they knew, but this time next year would end up being back in the same position. So I just hope this time next year there's going to be players that will shine out next year, players that are going to want to move on and things like that. But hopefully it's only 2 or 3. Do you get what I mean? 2 or 3 players leaving. You can deal with that.
You can't be dealing with half your team going, you know what I mean?
Half your team going, and the ones that are staying that still want to go aren't even performing for you, the likes of Edward.
So moving on. So Joonas' pre-season is finished. Are you happy with Dundee United's pre-season and the signings he did so far, and have they settled into the squad?
Well, I mean, I'm happy in the sense that we've got through our Betfred group stage for the first time since 2017. However, the fact that our group consisted of East Fife, Kelty Hearts, Arbroath and Elgin City, anything other than qualifying with maximum points would have been unforgivable. Exactly. So I'm not getting too carried away by that. And I'm slightly concerned that the only signings that we've made so far are Charlie Mulgrew and Trevor Carson, who at the moment looks like he's going to be back up if Segrist isn't leaving. We're desperate for creativity in the final third as we're too slow in transition. So a winger and a couple of attacking midfielders, or vice versa, an attacking midfielder and a couple of wingers are a must, I think, before the end of the transfer window. But other than that, it's not too bad.
Has the COVID pandemic maybe affected you as well? Like gone are the days now, Joonas, that you bring a player in, he can start training with the squad tomorrow, and stuff. Has that maybe affected your transfers as well, do you think?
Maybe so, but maybe uncertain over whether Shankland or Segrist are going to stay. But also, I just think the sporting director gave his view on Sky Sports last week when they were going around and giving a season preview of all the clubs. And he was basically saying, due to like the current financial climate, we're being a bit more laser sort of focused on who we're bringing in. And also with things like Brexit and COVID and things, it takes longer when you're bringing in players from the EU or out with the EU and things like that, because we've got a Cameroonian and a South American, so I don't know what it's like now to deal with work permits, papers, all that kind of stuff, plus the pandemic. So I'll give them a bit of leeway, but I mean, we were told a week past Monday from the manager that there'd be activity by the end of last week. We're now on Thursday night with until Sunday when we kick off the season, and there's still no one in the door. So I would like to see a bit of activity, and quite hastily if possible.
Mark, everyone seems to be kind of getting infected by these new Brexit rules, don't they? And it's the first time clubs are kind of dealing with them, you know?
I mean, well, it came into effect at like, I think it was 11 o'clock in Hogmanay, the 31st of December or something, like midnight hour in Europe. So they were in effect during the January window, but there wasn't much transfer activity at all, really, anywhere during that. So this is like the first main window where these new rules and regulations need to be followed, and that on top of COVID, it doesn't help. I mean, if it wasn't for all these new rules, regulations, COVID, Starfelt would have been available probably for the...
Exactly.
You know, I mean, things like...
Been straight into the squad, like, yeah.
Available for, maybe even no last week, but they've been available for last night, so they could have put them into the squad when they had to hand that in. So again, it's not just the Celtic board and that, it's a learning curve for everybody in football to get all these new...
And I was reading there as well from...
and again, hopefully, Paul, next year, we know that paperwork can take a wee bit longer and things like that.
And I was reading today as well that from, not next week, in 2 weeks' time, that if you're vaccinated, you actually don't have to isolate it. If you show a negative test, you can just go straight to your club. Did you hear anything about that coming in?
Is that for football or just for everyone?
Footballers. No, for footballers, yeah. Footballers, yeah. I was reading today.
But maybe they spoke about this before, Paul. I would have thought that the professional football clubs would have even picked to get other players vaccinated.
Exactly.
But I've read up on it and that and seen people saying it doesn't seem to be the case. I mean, people were on lockdown and players were still going about other stadiums and in contact with other players for other bubbles and kind of things like that. She would have thought that football players would have been one of the priorities.
Of course, there was no COVID cases in across our neighbours, but when everything went up there, they were coming out with COVID cases. But again, there was still no COVID kit. That's another topic for another day. So, Joonas, I believe that your sporting director, when he was giving the interviews to Sky last week as well, that he spoke about a book that he gave all your first team. It's called Legacies by James Carr. The book goes behind all the scenes of the New Zealand rugby union team. This book is all about a winning mentality, relationships within your squad, how they came a winning team. What was the thoughts behind that? Was it to get the winning mentality into the first team? And
I think it's just listening to what he was saying. It's just trying to revolutionise the way of thinking and build a legacy or a culture. And that. I'm a wee bit sort of old school, to be honest with yourself. I don't really care if they're reading the Beano at night or whatever books or magazines that they're reading. As long as they get the 3 points on the park on a Saturday afternoon, I'm not really too fussed about it. However,
I think it's a good idea, because looking at the winning mentality that New Zealand are the best rugby union team that's out there in the world. Do you know what I mean?
It's a good example, especially for the young ones coming through, and I understand the thoughts and means behind it. But like I say, I think that giving them books to read and all this kind of stuff, and I think football's now filled with getting flooded with, stats and everything's analysed to the bare bones. Sometimes I think they just try and overcomplicate it. All the ordinary punter that sits in the stand every week, like us lads, cares about is making sure
the results.
You get the 3 points.
Give them Roy Keane's autobiographies. Give them them.
He's some book. How was Charlie Mulgrew fitted in? And I think a good player for Dundee United to sign, considering his experience in football now.
Well, I mean, Mulgrew, so far he's come in, and the one thing that we had last year when the likes of maybe a couple of centre halves were on the ball, he always had the jitters because they were maybe good at heading and tackling, but weren't the best with the ball. But he just has a calmness about him. He also scored a free kick against Arbroath.
Like rockets.
Made the goalkeeper and then sort of caught the keeper out and stuff like that. So I think he'll be handy. He'll get us a few goals, set piece delivery, but also because we're bringing through a lot of young lads, he'll be
experience
useful
for them as well, yeah.
for
Exactly.
helping the kids. So no, I think overall it's a very good signing, even despite his age. And he's never been quick anyway, so I'm not too fussed about that fact because you're going to be playing either left at a centre half or maybe left back. So I think he's going to be in the centre half position. So that's where I think the club sees him. So yeah, I'm happy with that bit of business.
Good season, good signing, Mark, into for Dundee United. Charlie Mulgrew into this. It's a good signing from him.
As Joonas says, he'll help. He'll be a good influence on a lot of young players in the dressing room and things like that. The experience he brings if there's a young team, and he's been there before, so he knows what the club's about and that. And Mulgrew is a good player. I wouldn't say I wouldn't have him looking one of the top defenders I've seen at Celtic, but
he did a job, Mark, indeed.
He was better than a lot of people gave him credit for. You know what I mean?
We were talking about, I remember a few days ago.
Aye.
And that's what I said. Even now, I didn't care what anybody said.
He'd be better than what we have now, Mikey.
That's what he was going to say. He said he would have brought him back, didn't you?
Well, I would have brought him back because he is a lot better than what we've got just now. And like you say, people can say what they want about Mulgrew and that, but he was never quick, ever. You know what I mean? And like he says, he's been away to England, he's been a lot about Blackburn and that. I mean, Joonas will tell yourself, when he signed for United, he was as shocked as anybody. Like I said, he's like, no, because like I'm not trying to put United down as a small club or this, that, and next thing, but he's still got a lot left in the tank, that guy.
I think a great benefit too for Dundee United with Mulgrew is his execution of set pieces.
I love it. Like you said, I've been better from you see, like you say, because when obviously United are back and they've got fans, and I'll go to the odd United game home and away with Joonas, and he's one of the players that you want to watch because like free kicks and that, he's actually a good player to watch. He doesn't normally say that about defenders.
Joonas,
Captain Joonas, did he get made captain of that at Dundee United?
No, Mark Reynolds is still the club captain, but I don't know what the story is with Mulgrew. I think he's in the leadership group anyway, because there's a leadership group. There's Benji, there's Ryan Edwards, there's Connolly, there's Reynolds, Mulgrew, Callum Butcher and stuff like that. So he's in that like sort of leadership group of older sort of experienced pros there. So he's up there as, I mean, on the pitch, I think he's captained the side a couple of times during the Betfred Cup when the other lads haven't been playing. But she'll certainly be part of that captaincy sort of bubble, I would think. You
have leaders, do you know what I mean? You have leaders within your first team. No, Joonas, like something that Celtic don't have at the moment. His leaders within our squad, like, you know.
Mulgrew wouldn't have done what Beaton done last week.
No, he wouldn't have. No.
And that was for me. That was what that. We've been through the performance last night, but for me, what Beaton done last week was what swung the tie. That was the kind of moment that killed. Do you know what I mean? Beaton getting sent off, Abada having to come off, weakened us up front. So that was a kind of, what's the word? Swivel point? Is that
turning point? Yeah.
That was that, and Mulgrew done that.
Joonas, all our talk was on how our young lads will do in that game. Do you know what I mean? And then to have one of your most experienced players in the Beaton to do something stupid like that, that's just so unforgivable, like for one of your experienced players to lose their head like that, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, you're expecting, you know, someone that's already been on a booking, and from what I hear, the referee was a bit card happy. Just don't give the referee an excuse. You know what I mean?
That's what it is, like, and you can't. They're the rules of the game. Like, fair enough, the lad from Mitran was play acting as well, like, but he still put his hand on his head, and you just can't do that now, like, you know what I mean?
And it's the rules. To be honest as well, but Paul, it was kind of out of character for Beaton. No, it's not usually the type that kind of gets involved in the kind of things that I can think of. Because I can't mind even watching it in my life.
He let himself, Mark, being wound up by him the whole game, didn't he? He let himself wound up. And it was going back to that tackle when Beaton bust his cheek or something like that. Yeah.
When he gets sent off and that, it was actually my wife that said she thought that maybe the Michelin player had said something to him, but that would
Mhm.
come out if he'd. But it was a weird reaction. Just it wasn't what you'd expect for beat on. Just
Mhm.
one maybe that punt on himself to get sent off.
Well, that's what I mean, but before he got sent off, Mark, that's what I said the last time after that game when we came on after it. Ever since he got that slap in the face early doors, he was running a bit where he had a chip on his shoulder for that happened there. He was just,
That's what I mean, but you
Right,
wouldn't expect it. Do you get what I mean? He should know better than to get let that affect him. It just seemed to, after he got the belt in the mouth, he just kind of seemed to. But do you know what I mean? Just he's always going about how he's calm holding the ball and how he's that kind of way. And then after he get the slap in the mouth, he just became like this totally different player. He seemed
Mhm.
but being ugly and nasty on the park and that.
but that's what I mean, just because like, you can't, like, he's one of the players that you can't touch him, or he'll just like he's
Exactly.
It's like that Christopher Julian as well. I mean, Christopher Julian's a good defender, don't get us wrong. He's decent for a set piece as well, well for scoring anyway. But it's the same as him. If you touch him or anything like that, being a centre back, he's been rolling a bit, hudding his face and that as well. I hate that in any player.
But Shevchenko was guilty last night as well of doing that, wasn't he? A few times, wasn't he? You know, that's what he was like going down as like he got a chalk flicking into the back of him there half through the game. You know,
Shevchenko was a bit like Cannavaro and Nesta rolled into one last night. Well, Edward made him look like Cannavaro and Nesta anyway.
I mean,
that's how he could heal it.
I seen one of the guys on Twitter that does like all the analytics stuff and all that, and he was actually like trying to back up Edward today and saying that he'd see this X amount of aerial duels won and all that pattern that, and people somebody was like to him, did you watch the game?
Did you watch the game?
I didn't like.
Was that the boys analyst, Mark? I think it was it?
Did you see it, Paul?
Yeah, I did. I was looking at that. And the amount of comments by people gave him over that, Mark.
Because it was just a lot of rubbish, to be honest, Paul. You can't, there's no way you can, anybody can defend Edward's performance last night.
And Edward was the fault for their free kick outside the back, another stupid tackle going up with his hands. And that's they got the free kick and they scored their goal, wasn't it? He gave away the stupid free kick, yeah. You know, it was the story with Seagrass. I know he told down Ipswich that they were kind of heavy. It looks like that maybe he could be staying with you, or does he still want to wear?
I don't think, as far as the guy's concerned, he's ever wanted away. He's never publicly came out. All he said is, I'm happy at Dundee United, but I'd also like to play at the highest level that I can. Mm-hmm. But he said, I've been at the games that I've been at so far, the 3 games I've been to. He's vocal, he's passionate. He never stops speaking. He cares, you know what I mean. He's not a bad influence behind the scenes and stuff like that. He's not throwing his weight about. He's not training. He's not trying to force a move. And we pulled out in negotiations for Ipswich because they didn't match our valuation. Mm-hmm. The deal was everything was in place, but then the board directors turned around and said, "Well, no, you're not giving us enough money, so we're no selling." And I'm quite happy with that because it's about time that Scottish, sort of mid to top 4 Scottish sides like Dundee United stop letting their bellies be tickled by League 1 and League 2 teams in England for daft transfer fees. So I'm glad we told them that we weren't selling on the cheap.
Hold on to your assets, yeah, exactly. Not let them go for pittings, and then ye be the ones then regretting that. Then you know what I mean?
Exactly.
You know
what I mean?
But Carrison's not a bad keeper either for Dundee United to bring in. He's not bad. Experience as well, you know.
Well, the thing is, I think he's there as in he'll just step in as number 1 if Benji does leave. Mm-hmm. I think that was a shrewd bit of business actually, because we identified that there's a good chance that we'll lose Seagrass. But even if we don't lose Seagrass, Carson's there for 2 years, so the likelihood is Seagrass not going to sign on again, I don't think.
And you have the replacement already there. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So we'll have a ready-made replacement to go, whether it's in January or it's in a year's time. So that is one bit of business that the club has done well on, despite having been critical of a few of the other transfer dealings.
And Mark, that's the ideal situation of planning. Planning that you know the player's not going to sign a contract. You already have a player signed up who's going to sign for 2 years, and he's there as his replacement if needed.
That's exactly, Paul. No, I mean, again, I'm like Mike. I'm not putting Dundee United down as a wee club, but Dundee United have been better run the now than we are.
Exactly.
Everything Joonas has been saying, the sporting director in, and they're filling positions that they need filled with the right kind of guys like Mulgrew bringing in his experience to with a young squad and things like that. I mean, that's basically it. Dundee United seem to be being run better than Celtic are now.
That's what I was reading about it, Mark. When I was reading about Dundee now, and I think yours will read me. When the new owners came in, they saw how badly run the club was. They listened to the fans, and they listened to their consult, and they changed everything within the club. Do you know what I mean?
If you look about Scotland, that Paul, all these other clubs are well run for their level.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Your Dundee United, even Aberdeen, even your St Mirren's, right? They're run well at their level. They do their best, and if it's good enough to win something, they win something. And if they don't, they've done their best and held their own kind of idea. But they're all still got these setups that the best that they can do behind the scenes, and they don't. And it's just shows you how
Celtic have money men in the areas, Mark, isn't it?
just shows you how poor we've been ran over the last 3 or 4 years. Really, Paul, it really does.
It does, like, and that's why I wanted to talk to Jonas about the board level, because when he first came onto the podcast, he was telling us about how the American owners came in and they saw all these faults within the club and they changed it. And it took them time to change, Jonas. It wasn't done overnight, but they now have the structure in place that works for the club and works for the fans.
Well, at the end of the day, I make no bones about saying this, that, like, I think if the owners hadn't stepped in when they did, we were only weeks away from administration. The money had run out. We were in a bad way, like.
Saying that, Jonas.
So, and don't get me wrong, there is a few things behind the scenes, like the social media output could be a wee bit better. There's a few issues that obviously need worked on, and you're never going to please everybody. And obviously, the lack of signings has got quite a lot of people's backs up at the minute. But we're in a lot better place than we were previously. And like I say, to be fair to the boy, he has pumped a lot of money in. So, well, you can't really ask for much more. He's been committed, you know what I mean? He comes over to watch the team, and even speaking to the guy, seems like a guy that's sort of got the bug, if you know what I mean. He's really into it.
His son now was involved as well, isn't he, Jonas? His
son sat with the fans in that a few games and things like that as well, like the co-chairman or co-owner or whatever you want to call him, you know. So it's encouraging on that sense. But like I say, it was also overdue, because we were on a bad. We were potentially looking at admin, you know what I mean. So it wasn't looking good.
And the problem is that, Jonas, I don't know, would it be the same here with, in Irish football when teams go bust? The Irish FA basically did nothing to help them a hand, and Limerick City was a great example as that. They just left them go bust. Would that have been the same with yourself with the Scottish FA? Would they have stepped in to help you, or would you be penalised?
The FA wouldn't have stepped in. They would have called in an administrator, and we
would have stepped up, Paul.
Yeah, our fan base would have. There's also like there's a lot of sort of people with money that are fans of the club, thankfully, but also we would have been docked 15 to 20, between 15 and 25 points, depending on the level of the debt. So say it was mid-season, we would have started the following season with a points deduction. So you could have potentially looked at back-to-back relegations and ended up in League One if things had gone really badly.
And worse the way you are then. I think that was the same with Cork City. Sorry, Mark, on.
I was going to say to Jonas, I can't mind if we had John for Mickey Mellon left.
Sorry?
Have we had John for Mickey Mellon left?
Yeah, I've been on.
Have you? I couldn't mind if you'd been on or that. It was just something, I was just looking at something on the internet there. Because I mind when you were on, you were saying that the things he was coming out with and meeting the fans and that. You were expecting him to be staying. I wasn't sure if he'd been on Faye then.
No.
Really stabbed you in the back, Jonas, didn't he?
No, well, there was a big sort of thing that came out that I think what had actually happened was the football was brutal to watch. And Michael will attest to this. He watched a couple of games with me, and he says that honestly, you would probably rather have your piles pushed back in by Freddy Krueger than watch some of the football that we had to suffer. You
were too cagey in games that you would expect Dundee United to win, Jonas, and he was kind of a more defensive in those games, and then you were conceding goals then, and you weren't attacking the teams.
I think the owners and the director realised that the fact that with the crowds coming back this season, I just don't think people would have tolerated that sort of football when the stands are full again, you know.
And what about this new lad? Is it the fella Coates? Is it Coates? I think is it
Coates and Liam Fox, yeah.
Stepping up from the youth system and sports and director roles. Have you confidence in them for next season when they play a bit of football that you want?
It's a huge gamble. Like, I mean, the thing is, if he gets the players that he needs, then he gets the players that he needs. Like, you know, Mark Reynolds, the captain, was in my work the other few days ago, and we were sort of speaking. And he says he's freshened up, and all the players are saying that it's a better atmosphere to work under, and it's a more free-flowing style of football. But at the end of the day, he'll live and die by results, like every single man does in football. So you need, and we've got a tough start. Our first 7 games are probably as hard as you could ask for a start. So it'll depend on how he gets on, like everybody else. You know what I mean? It's all right saying he'll do this and that, and he can interview people till the cows come home. But until the real ball comes out at this weekend, then that's when you'll be judged.
Just moving on to match day 1, and as Joonas said there, look, pre-season is pre-season. Celtic ourselves, we had a mixed pre-season. We got hammered by West Ham. A bit of reality for Celtic fans, knowing how weak our squad is, and our first confessed games led us to being exit from the Champions League. Dundee United's first real game in the league is on Sunday at 3 p.m. And it's a tough game, Joonas, to start the first league game. Aberdeen away, Pentageret. It's a tough game.
Yeah, at the end of the day, though, you're going to have to play everybody at some point. You know what I mean? So at the end, nobody's really settled into any kind of rhythm. I've seen Aberdeen lost. Okay, they were 5 up from whatever that first leg against that Hacken. They won 2. They lost 2-0 over there tonight. But the job was done, so I'm not taking anything from that result. It's just a case of who goes out and does the best when the real ball comes out. So we'll just have to wait and see. There's not really too much you can read into it, you know what I mean?
Aberdeen will not be fancying Dundee United for their first opponents either.
No, they'll probably be... It's a tough start for both teams, yeah. They'll be looking at it like that as well, I would think.
I think the main focus on that game is that 2 teams have 2 new managers in place. Aberdeen have the fella, is it Glass, is it? And you have your own fella. Like, there's pressure on the 2 managers really to get off to a good start in the first game, isn't there?
Yeah, there's always pressure. I mean, you're just going to be, like you say, you're judged on results. It's a results-based industry. And at the end of the day, unfortunately now, the owners react to what's going on in the stand. So if the punters turn on the manager, then you're usually gone, because at the end of the day, if there's not people in the stadium, there's no money coming in through the gates, and there's no, you know what I mean. So it's all about results, and that's what they'll be judged on ultimately.
Mm-hmm. And what is your next your games, Joonas, within the month of August? You do have a tough start. I was looking at it there, but I didn't write down because I'm going to kind of concentrate on match day 1 this week, and you have a tough start to the campaign yourselves.
Yeah, well, we've got St Aberdeen away, Rangers at home, St Johnstone away. No, St Johnstone away, Hearts at home, and then that's about the month of August summed up. So it's not an easy start, you know what I mean. And in between that, we've got a Premier Sports Cup tie away to Ayr United sandwiched in between there as well. It's probably as hard a month as you can ask for, really.
Mm-hmm. Mark, it's a tough start for Dundee United, isn't it?
Well, especially the first 2 there, away to Aberdeen and home to Rangers. But as Joonas says, you've got to play these teams sometime. And Aberdeen have got a good chance of beating Dundee United, but Dundee United have a good chance of beating Aberdeen. Yeah, exactly. It's 2 new managers, the first time teams are playing together and things like that. So anything can happen, but I don't know. I mean, I've just of people on social media tipping Dundee United to get relegated and that. I mean, that's nonsense in my opinion. That's never going to happen.
It's going to be an interesting campaign next season because we've Hearts back, we've Hibernian. Dundee United were there since last season, but we've Dundee coming back in. Aberdeen, who to me got their business done early, Mark, they got their signings in, they're settled with their signings that they brought in. It'll be an interesting take next season, won't it, the league?
Oh, it will be. The league, it could be one of the better leagues, like overall, that we've had for a long while, Paul. I mean, see, like the Dundee Derby and things like that, it's always good to have the kind of games. It helps kind of just even the buzz about the league. Do you know what I mean?
And I was only speaking to yourself, Mark, before we came on air. CBS over in America have struck a deal with the Scottish FA, and they're going to be streaming every game over in America now. That's being played in the Scottish. They'll be shown across all the CBS networks over in America. Like, so that's more income that we were hoping, Mark, that was needed to promote the Scottish League, and we have it. You know.
Well, it can only be a good thing. The more TV deals you've got, the more money the club gets, kind of idea. And I don't know why they don't just sell. See, supposing you're only getting £25,000 off of some wee country in Europe to show Scottish football. Take it, show it.
Oh yeah, I get the
Throw it into the pot and sell it to anybody that wants to buy it. And
the only ones I would get now on the Polish satellite I have, Canal Plus, is if it's been shown on Sky Sports, I'll get it then. Do you get me? On the Polish satellite, then I'll get it because they would have bought the rights then off Sky maybe or thing. But this is a deal done to Scottish FA, so the money will actually go back into the Scottish FA. Do you get me? You know, it's not going to be through a third party of Sky Sports. The deal was done with the Scottish FA, so it's money that's well needed.
Tell the truth, well, she set you up with a dodgy IPTV.
I have the Scottish box.
Come on.
Be knocking at my door now next week, but you can't be banging down the door over the phone. Jesus Christ, that's all I need, Mark.
Porn's been getting hammered for Veronica went away.
That's why I'm tired getting up late in the mornings. Jesus, Manscaped. Mikey, just come back to you on Dundee's preparations for the start of the season and tough games, as Joonas said there. But there's points there as well for Dundee United to be taken in there.
Like I say, Dundee United, I've got every day I've seen them times this season. They've got a solid spine there. That's a good defence, good skill. Forward, they've got a good player from every position. I actually think they'll take points and more against Aberdeen on Sunday. Like Aberdeen and any great shakes, like he says. Aberdeen always talk a good game. They like to talk. They've been talking again this year, but I'm more worried about Celtic start to the season on Saturday.
We come to that. We're just Dundee, but we'll talk about us in due time. But you'll be confident that Dundee will be taking points off Aberdeen as well, yeah?
I think so. Dundee easy. Dundee have got a good team.
Mm-hmm.
Like you say, some of that Nicky Clark that they've got up front. I actually like him better over Longshanklin because he'll score more goals in the Scottish Premiership than the Shanklin will. Mm-hmm. He's just overall better. Like a lot of Dundee United fans are fixated on Shanklin because he scored so many goals in the Championship and stuff. But Dundee United's main player going forward is definitely Nicky Clark.
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about. Joonas is about Shanklin. Joonas, he really didn't step up last season compared to the previous season that he had down the first division. He doesn't seem to kind of be the same player, does he, for Shanklin?
Well, he had an injury, and then also the fact that we basically played him as a left back or a holding midfielder because how negative we were last season didn't help him. Obviously, don't get me wrong, there was a few chances. I mean, he missed a couple of one-on-ones at Ross County when he was through, taking bad touches, running the ball out the park. He just looked a wee bit sort of huffy, and he just didn't look like. But I think it was more to do with the and I know again it's only, and I know it's only against lower league opposition, but it took him 26 games last season to score 3 goals or something like that. He scored the same in like 2 games this season, and I know it's against lower league opposition, but he just seems happier. He just seems like he's moving a bit more freely and that. So
is he getting is he getting the service, Joonas, maybe that you didn't get under
Yeah.
Mickey Mallon? Do you know what I mean? That you're
Yeah.
playing the type of football that maybe suits Shackland now?
Yeah, exactly. But like you say, there's a big difference between playing Kelty or East Fife or Elgin than there is playing against Aberdeen. So again, I'll keep my powder dry until such times as we've actually played against better opposition. There's certainly not getting carried away, but I'll give him a wee bit of leeway just because of the circumstances of last year. So hopefully this season he produces. But like, I agree with Michael as well. I think Nicky Clark's got a lot of goals in him if he's utilised correctly, because he's a good finisher. I think he scored 15 goals or 10, 15 goals in all competitions last year. So that can't be overlooked.
Mm-hmm. So, Michael, I'll come to you now. So, our opening game is a tough game. Where usually it's always a tough game when Celtic go to Hearts at Denver on Saturday at 8 o'clock. Considering how light our squad still is going into this game, it's going to be a tricky night for Ange. Even more difficult, in my opinion, because the early exit that we had from the Champions League, the pressure's on. The fans will be on the team's back, I think. Your thoughts on the game coming into the Saturday?
I don't think there's any chance that Celtic are going to win on Saturday. That's just me being honest. That's just me being honest. I just didn't see it. Hearts have got a good side there, and like you say, I think we can all be honest between when Michelin done any better than Hearts or Aberdeen or Hibs or that. But I mean, Celtic made that team look good yesterday. I mean, look at that team, the goalkeeper up top front, and people are going to try and tell me that we're going to, as it stands right now, we're going to have a chance on Saturday. Like I said, I mean, I've got serious doubts for this season. Like the goalkeeping situation and the defense. Like, look at that defence yesterday.
Rotten.
I mean, it's not the guy's fault that are playing, the young guys.
No, it's not. You can't blame them. Yeah, exactly. You can't.
I'm not blaming the guys or that, like, but I mean, people can say, "Oh, we'll beat Hearts and this, that, and next thing." That's fine if they're competent, fair play. I don't know whether they're getting the competence fair. Like, but if you look at Hearts' team, and then it's been like Saturday kick-off, they're going to have 6,000 in the ground. I mean, I just don't think it's going to work out well for us in the first game of the season now.
Mark, Hearts on the other day, Mark. Anyway, it is a tough place to go to, Edinburgh, but like we will have Starfelt in, and I presume hopefully Mark he'll be playing. I think it's too early for Kyogo to come in and play. I think he's not finished his quarantine yet, so it's mostly going to be more or less the same team that we saw in Midland, I think.
Well, I'm just hoping Starfelt comes in and can settle the defence a bit, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
And as we were speaking earlier on about Joe Hart, if we can say Joe Hart, put him in.
My main concern is here, right? And I'm going back to the same situation, right? We signed Liam Shaw, we signed Ozaza Orhidi, and they were nowhere to be seen in the first team. And I have to put it out there, and I have to say, we played the second half yesterday the same as we did last season, and this influence is only there because of John Kennedy still part of that backroom team. It is, Mark. Mark, it is. New signings need to be played, Mark, and we're going. They weren't even looked at yesterday. Do you know what I mean? And
so you're saying that Ange isn't his own man then? Ange is watching him in training, Paul.
No, but I'm saying that he doesn't have his own man to bounce his ideas off, Mark, because Kennedy only sees the same things that he saw against Lennon from these players. Do you get me? And that's why I think it's very important that Ange has to have his own, at least one of his own backroom staff.
Maybe you've said that 100 times before. I agree with you on that.
But could you see?
That's against something that Paul were dragging their heels over.
No, I'm just saying that. Could you see yesterday that the resemblance of last season? No, I'm not about. I'm on about. Could you see yesterday that the resemblance of Kennedy last season on that second half performance yesterday?
But you can't just blame every bad performance or every bad decision on Kennedy.
I'm on about the substitutes, Mark. Do you know what I mean? Like, back in bringing on
But that's still,
substitutes,
Ange is still,
bringing on.
Ange
But that's what I'm saying. Like,
he's watching the
is
same game as
is
Kennedy.
Ange his own man that we're led to believe that he is, because these substitutions should have been brought on earlier in the game, not fucking in extra time. Do you get me? You know, something.
I know what you're saying. I do know what you're meaning, but I just saying. Well, it's still. We've got to blame. If we're putting the blame on anybody on the coaching staff for that, it's got to be Ange, because the final decision comes down to him.
Mm-hmm.
Kennedy's influencing him or no, it's still Ange. Just even we've said about Kennedy and Stratton talking to Lennon and Lennon no listening to them. If Ange can see something that Kennedy can, it's up to Ange to change it.
But that's what I'm saying. That was my main concern. But Ange just did that.
But when we're talking about we're talking here about bringing his own man in, right? Again, has he been trying to bring his own man in and the club's dragging its heels, Paul? That's what I was trying to say.
That's what I'm saying. Are the club stopping Ange from bringing in at least one of his own backroom team?
No, I don't stop him. I'm just talking about like how long these like transfers seem to be going on and things like that. Right? Really, we've got to look at it. The priority is the first team on the park.
Mm-hmm.
Changes going on behind the scenes and that they can take longer. So is there moves for Angie's choice of number 2 to come in? But again, it's just the wheels, whether it's the board, whether the guy's in a job and no whatever. But is there moves to go and bring these people in?
I think maybe.
I'm saying we've got to wait a few weeks.
Wait for that. But then you're going back then to, and I'm going back. Maybe he was saying that if he thinks the backroom staff are good enough, they're good enough. Grand, he'd work with them. But I still think there needs to be a freshen up within the backroom staff. Do you know what I mean? I still think that there's new blood needs to come in there as well. You know,
to bring in his own number 2. I don't think anybody would argue with that. Every manager should be entitled to bring in their own number 2 at least. And that's what going forward. There will be somebody brought in that Ange has handpicked himself.
Joonas, I know Dundee United you promoted within your club, but did your new coach, first team coach, is the titles given to him? It is first team coach. He's not actually manager's first team coach, isn't it? Joonas, you there?
Hello?
Yeah, Joonas, I was just saying there that I know you promoted within your club, and the official title to your manager is first team coach, isn't it? It's not actually first team coach or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, I think head coach, I think it is.
Head coach. Again, so was he able to shuffle around his own backroom team as well, or was it forced upon him?
No. He brought in his own backroom staff because he got the boy Liam Fox that was a assistant at Livy last year that he worked with for it, and Tony Craig, who was the goalkeeping coach at Livy, so Fox brought him in. So Neil Alexander left the club, and so did Stevie Frail, and it's like Mickey Mellon's old backroom staff. So no, Court's got his own staff.
And looking at our situation, do you think it's vital for Ange maybe to bring in one of his own backroom team and not laying his ideas off previous managers like Strachan? I'm not going to put Strachan in because Strachan did, but Kennedy, Kennedy's been at the club a long while, and I think it's vital that Ange has one of his own people that he can lay his ideas off, who knows his style of play.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, like I say, Kennedy was probably, they got lads were maybe okay just for, first of all, just introducing him into the surroundings and showing him around and giving him a wee bit of background on who was there. But I would like to think if you're starting somewhere new and you get the opportunity to bring people with you, you would bring in someone that you know and trust and you've worked with before. So I wouldn't say that there'd be anything wrong with that approach.
That's what happens at every workplace. That's what I mean. Like, even I just went and took over a new job recently at quite a high-end company, and I just went and brought in a couple of the guys that I can to work beside us.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean. That's just what happens in all working environments. You bring in guys that you trust and you know work well.
Because that was my take in it. Like that, he said doesn't mean people will leave him, but he will be bringing in some of his staff to make the backroom staff better, so he'll be able to implement his ideas. But I just think that we could struggle in the backroom staff if Ange isn't left bringing his own backroom staff, Mark, do you think?
But he says he would be.
Yeah.
So, again, we've just got to wait and see how things progress. But he said in his press conferences that these decisions were left up to him. So, unless we're...
But do you think he'd struggle, Mark? Do you think we'll struggle like last season if he didn't bring in his own staff like that? Maybe it was Ange's decision, like not to bring in. We say he doesn't bring in his own staff, right? And that he's willing to work with us. But do you think
that's the thing? He's not come out and said that, Paul.
No.
He's not come out and said, "Look, I'm happy with this stuff. I don't need anybody else." So that's
and he actually, and he didn't actually come up and say that either. Is the main thing there, Mark? Isn't it? He didn't come up and say, "I'll work with this." Do you know what I mean?
I think again, it's the way he came across in his press conference. He was coming in and seeing what everything was about and seeing what everybody was about and deciding who he can work with. And again, Paul, we've only been a month into like Ange and Dominic guys kind of reign
exactly.
To call it that. And it's the same amount of overhaul.
That's what I'm saying, Mark. That's what I'm saying, Mark. That's why I'm saying that is Kennedy's influence still on the team, that Ange is still getting used to the surroundings. Do you get me? Because we saw it yesterday, Mark, in the way our passing was. It was atrocious in the second half. And I can only put that down to what I saw last season, that Celtic looked the same team in the second half as we did last season.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. You got to remember, though, Paul, that last season, this is still the same team, no matter what. No matter, there's only a couple of changes in the team here and there. I mean, I went on about Kennedy in the past as well, but Celtic's performances this season has got nothing to do with Kennedy. You know what I mean? Like he says, the way that Celtic are playing just now, and that's due to the players that we've got.
Personnel not being there. That's the problem.
They're not good enough, and that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, guys have jokingly said it in the chat and that, but it's true. As it stands right now, no one's going to sit here and tell me that Celtic are guaranteed to even finish second with their current team.
But that's my main concern. That because, and I said it, and I go back to it, I said that until Ange gets the players in he wants, we won't see the full effect of what Ange can do. And that's the only way we can see Celtic play under Ange. You know what I mean?
It's not even just getting the players in that he wants, Paul. It's the effect it'll have on the players that are already here. When you think back to times like with Ronnie Dyler, Brendan Rodgers, you know what I mean? What Mikey's talking about, I know what you mean. It's the saying, making a silk purse out of sow's ear, isn't it? That's what you say. But players that we have got, especially younger players, they'll improve under Ange.
Oh, without doubt.
Do you know what I mean? But that's what I'm saying. It's backroom staff thing. They'll change that. They will. I don't know. It's not something I would really spend much time worrying about. I think it's just going to take a bit longer again.
I'd tear the shit out of Kennedy anytime. I'd blame him for everything.
Oh my God.
You know how you have your opinion about Christine thing, Mac. I have mine about Kennedy, and there'll be no change in that.
As we've said as well, but Paul, everybody's got a bad word to say about Kennedy. See anybody in the game?
No, exactly.
Say about him.
Exactly right.
And as I mentioned in the forum the other day, is it maybe something like a personality thing that he doesn't? He's not got the kind of personality to go and be like his own manager. Because I thought somebody would have brought it up. There was a picture, I don't even know what game it was, and Ange is standing there with his arms folded, and Kennedy's just sitting there on a seat behind him.
Yeah.
Somebody was going to put, look, they don't get on. They've been arguing.
Exactly. Straight away they'd be onto it. Like going back to the Hearts game, Mark. After seeing the defeats, like that could have an effect on the team maybe going into the Hearts game. Do you think? And it's a tough game for Celtic to start their season off.
It's always tough going to Tynecastle and we're getting up there and they've got home fans in and we've not got any away fans at all in the stadium. So it'll be a tough game, but I always think Celtic will win, Paul. You know me. But it'll be a tough game, and I'm just hoping Starfelt can come in, shore up the defence. And
the big question is,
even him and Welsh has got to have an improvement on
exactly
just organisation, and do you get what I mean? Actual experience. Can organise a defence while on the park while the game's going on.
My only issue there now is that because Beaton's not going to be suspended for this game, I mean maybe Starfelt won't be fit, not fit, maybe up to scratch. To say he doesn't start, Mark, he's not up to scratch, right? And we have to throw Beat. I'd still go with young Murray instead of Beaton there. Well, there's no doubt about it. You know.
Probably would. When you say that about Beaton, I would probably go with Murray over Beaton as well.
Beaton's finished at Celtic. As simple as that. He was finished when he first signed for Celtic. Never mind now. I mean, the fact
he has to be like he has to be like.
The fact that he's even mentioned in even in the Celtic squad, match day squad, terrifies me. Like, I mean, can you imagine him playing again for Celtic after what he done and like that and Edward and that? Like, I'm not so clued up on a lot of the youth players, but obviously we're struggling with strikers. Griffiths is doing whatever he's doing. Ayeti's always saying no. Have we got any like good youth forwards?
No. And I said that to you, Mark, didn't I, when I was going through the youth players with Barry, when we Barry on the thing and I said Celtic haven't produced a top class striker from the youth academy since, I think, Mark, was it Tony Watt that we had? It was the last one.
You said as well, there isn't even one there to know that could even
step in.
In a crisis, there wasn't a striker.
And even
Paul, there wasn't a striker in the youth team.
No, there wasn't. And I saw. I think there's a young lad there now. He's in maybe the under 16s, but he's way down the block. And you saw it with all the youth players, Mark, that came into the squad even pre-season. There was actually no striker there. You know, there was no striker that was in that stepped up for the pre-season. We had no striker, and for a club not being able to produce a top class striker from a youth system like Celtic, it's unthinkable. Like
young boy Aitchison, he's away down to England, didn't he as well?
I think he went back on loan to Forest Green this season. I think to Barnsley. I think I was reading about that the other day actually. I was just going to bring him up actually because when he came up, I think he scored on. Was it not against Motherwell or something? He was only 16 or something.
He scored in his debut. Aye.
Yeah, he just went on. He went on loan to Forest Green for Celtic in 2019. Then he signed for Barnsley. Then he's went actually back on loan to Forest Green again.
Just get
his dad as well.
We just get Joonas' take on that, like Mark, that Celtic not been producing a top striker in their youth academy for the last 10 years. That we actually don't have a young lad now to come in to step into the boots of Joonas for a club like Celtic is shocking, really, isn't it?
Yeah, there's probably two sides to that though as well. Like, yeah, obviously the young lad situation, but then, and obviously not bringing someone through the youth is a bit of a sort of bad look. But then the thing is as well, a club like Celtic as well, they're always under pressure to go and buy a big name striker. You know what I mean? To get the fans on side as well. The fans always clamour for a marquee signing and that as well. And to be fair, they've done reasonably well with like a lot of the strikers that they have paid a reasonable amount of money for. So it's a double-edged sword, probably, is it? You know what I mean?
I know a club, and you spoke to us before that a club like Dundee, you kind of have to keep producing your youth system, and you do have a good youth system. You explained it last time, and you sell them off for a profit, like. But Celtic's youth system really it's not a problem of producing the players. It's the past that were never given to them under previous managers like Neil Lennon and Brendan Rodgers. Like that's something that needs to change. We see it currently because we don't have a squad, but we see it on the Anshar. He's willing to give these young players a chance. But there comes to a point then as well, Joonas, that you need experienced players in your team.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't just play young players as a box ticking exercise to say we gave X and Y and Z amount of academy graduates their debut. They've got to, if they're good enough, they'll play. But if they're not good enough, then you can't jeopardise the overall performance of the team just as a box ticking exercise to say that we put young players in the side. You know, it's got to be a balance, and that's like what you've said there is you need a core of experience.
Mm-hmm. Mark, you agree with that, Chad?
I agree with that. You don't just put them in for the sake of it, but Dundee United are producing players that are knocking at the door, Paul.
Yeah.
Their chance, that was players that were knocking at the door and
weren't getting the that was the problem, and we spoke with Nooms, okay, but we're seeing this with Ange at the moment due to the fact, Mark, that we don't have the players in the squad at the moment. But when the player comes in, Mark, we still want to see these young lads progressing into the first team, don't we? We still want to get their fair share of game time as well within the squad, like, you know.
But that's the only way they're going to get better, and that's the only way they're going to progress. Speak about it, pathways and things. Liam Morrison left because he couldn't see a path into the Celtic first team, and Bayern Munich showed him his path into their first team.
And that was the main quote when I read that out that time, Mark, in the podcast. That was the main thing that we were, because I think was it the previous podcast we were saying that I'd love for a player to come out and say why he left, right. And then the week later, Liam Morrison came out and he actually said it twice, and it was exactly what we were saying. He got no part way from Celtic for breaking into the first team. He said he broke up to the fringes and then it stopped.
Somebody said on the forum that they knew it was either a member of his family or somebody close to them, and when we went out to Bayern Munich, they had all these graphic setups and videos and to show him everything, and this is what, and showed him how his future will pan out at Bayern Munich for the next couple of years. I mean, that's Celtic's miles behind that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? That level of looking after the young players and giving them the confidence and the vision. I suppose the vision of where, look, you do what we tell you, stick by us, do what we're showing you today, and in 2 or 3 years' time you'll be here. If you don't make it at Celtic, you'll be good enough to go and play at a level. Do you get what? That's the best thing you can say to a young player. You stick by us, and no matter what, you might not make it here, but you'll be more than capable of going and playing at a level of football that you'll make a living out of.
Look what Chelsea did with Billy Gilmore. Look at the player that he turned in and just went loaned him to Norwich for a season. Mm-hmm. Just with a bit of nurturing and a bit of quality training and that. One of the best young midfielders in Europe just now.
That's it. That makes all the difference as well. The coaching that they're getting. And I mean, it must be tough for young guys. I mean, they're still
a big club, yeah.
And see if you're attached to Celtic, really think about the pressure of being a 17-year-old boy the new signed.
But that's why we should be a stepping stone. That's why Celtic should be a stepping stone for young players wanting to come to Celtic, Max, shouldn't this?
But even down to things like social media and things like that, it's all totally different from when we were younger. Mm-hmm. Well, probably you, not me, but like get old guys like Mikey and that. But I mean, there's a lot more pressure even on young players today than there was even going back to like young John Paul McBride that I know. Do you know what I mean? He was meant to be going to be the next big thing in Scotland. But imagine that how the pressure on him would be today. It would be like magnified 100%. So it's a big ask on young players. But if the club aren't helping these young players to deal with everything that comes their way,
we just get Jonas' take on how Dundee United interrogates young players into their first team. Jonas, do you gradually settle them in, giving them gradually game time and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, we use the loan system as well. So Kai Fotheringham's went back on Falkirk for a full season. Ross Graham last season played at Cove. I think he's at Dunfermline, so he's up a league this year. He's up to Dunfermline on loan. So the boys that have been on loan are now coming in and getting their chance because they've went away and done well. Or what they're doing is if they're going back on loan, they're going up maybe a league from where they were last season and stuff like that. So like a couple of the young boys signed new like 3-year contracts and then got sent straight on loan. But that's good because they've signed a new deal, but they're also going to be playing men's football. Better than playing in bounce games or development.
And I think that's key there as well. Like what you said, that they'll be loaned to different divisions each year, so they're gradually getting experience going as they're going up in their age, they're going up the leagues as well, Jonas. You know.
Correct. Yeah. Exactly. And like I say, they're progressing.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? What do you think?
You're just going to ask him. Yeah.
Oh.
You're just going to ask him. Go on.
Just going to say when he's talking about the level that the young boys are playing at, but like Celtic and Rangers have obviously got these Colt teams in that, and they voted down the vote for other teams to get into like their league staying Colts. Would you rather Dundee United went to like that league with Celtic, Rangers, Hibs taking over these wee league tables and that, or would you rather that they just brought back what any kind of version of a Colts league? Does it?
Nah, yeah, or a reserve league or something. No, I think so, because you think about it. Say you're a season ticket holder for Stranraer or Stenhousemuir or Cowdenbeath or Queen's Park or something like that. You would feel absolutely furious if the sort of bigger boys just decided, oh, we're just going to swan in here and take over our leagues and put our kids in the leagues. It just takes away the competition. It just takes away from what the leagues are supposed to be. So I'm against that idea. Like, even if United suggested, I wouldn't want that to happen. I just don't think it's fair on supporters of teams in those divisions. You know what I mean? Even if they said they can't go up, but say United, Celtic, Rangers and Aberdeen finish the top four.
Exactly. That's what Mark was saying, yeah.
What kind of incentive is that for clubs who rely heavily on their 600-700 gate income every week to keep those clubs afloat? If we were just going to swan in and say, oh, well, we're just going to take over. But nah, I hope that idea never.
It doesn't make sense what you said. And Mark tipped, and that is when we were talking about coast teams. That, as you said there, we say if Celtic finished first, Rangers second, Aberdeen third. But then we say Stranraer finished fourth, but they win the league then and they get promoted. It just doesn't make no sense to the league table. Like,
it's a hollow victory. It's like, no, I just don't agree with that idea whatsoever. I think the reserve league should have just been kept, because then you were playing against guys that were coming back from injury. But like I said, what I like about the young guys going on loan, they're playing men's football, which is more beneficial than playing in the development league or bounce games. You know what I mean?
Exactly, but I think the best thing about Reserve League as well is that it's beneficial to Scottish football as well, because you have your young players playing constantly. They're playing football. They're not playing these bunks matches one week and then next week they've no match, as if there was a proper, maybe a Colts league in itself, something like that. Well, it make more sense, like Mark. That's what we were talking about, Mark, didn't it?
If you want to make a Colts league, make a Colts league. The only thing about that is a lot of the smaller clubs would struggle. See, like,
to field players.
Because they play their young players in.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? So that's the only thing. Probably the reserve league would be the best way to go. I've said it before, Paul. I think doing away with it, it's one of the keenest decisions Scottish football's ever made. I can't for the life of me fathom out why they stopped doing that.
But not only
then they moan about it.
Not only did it run like not beneficial for them, but it didn't help progress young Scottish footballers either to progress their career. Like it's kind of really damaged Scottish footballers in a whole, helping progress these young players. You know what I mean? That's the way I can see it from the outside, like, you know.
There's just all these young players kicking their heels every weekend rather than playing in matches, because there's all they've got to set up is like bounce games that mean nothing. So you're not going to progress as a player or get any better just playing in bounce games, Paul. You need
even Mark,
of games.
This Colts League isn't an easy ride either for young lads. Like, it's really kids against men that these lads are coming up against today. Like in the leagues that they're playing in, the lower leagues. You know.
Well, Mikey and Joonas know more about that kind of level of football than me. They've played at it, but it's basically, to me, Paul, it's working guys, amateurs, part-timers, playing against men that are trying to be professional footballers. So they're getting kicked up and down by a guy that's stowed it in with a hangover on the Saturday morning, done a Saturday morning shift, and then he's out there playing football on a Saturday afternoon.
I think, Jonas, like, having our young lads playing those leagues, like, our young lads are risks of a bad tackle or a missed time tackle by some of these lads, are they?
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, in some of the lower leagues, obviously there's guys that are part-time, but they're still playing contracted to, like, established clubs, like you say, it almost becomes a Sunday league mentality in certain ways. If you go down that route, like what was just getting said there, like that, like what Mark was saying, that you've got boys that would start in after a drink or whatever, hungover, and then they would just start hoofing the kids up and down. That's no any kind of way to develop someone, just to butcher them out the game. Obviously, it toughens them up because they take the odd agricultural challenge in those divisions, but it's still properly facilitated. But if it just becomes a fiasco, then you're not getting any benefit. You know what I mean?
It's not an easy league that some supporters of Celtic thought the Celtic Colts team would be going down. It's a tough league they're in, Jonas, like, isn't it?
Yeah, all those divisions are tough because the problem is a lot of the guys are probably ex-professional as well. You look at a lot of the sides, like Celtic, Hearts, and a lot of the sides down in those divisions, they've got a lot of ex-pros in them as well, you know what I mean? So you're not just playing against brickies and joiners. And
was that the team that Barry Fox used to manage? Kilty Hearts, was it? Was that?
Yeah.
Was that them? Yeah.
Yeah, who our head coach used to manage, correct.
Well, talking about head coaches, and the time is everything for coaching. With the modern football, they don't get time. Like, so, if results don't go their way, like the honeymoon period, I presume, is over now for both managers. I think Jan, is it Courts? I'm saying
Courts,
again.
yeah,
Courts. So, how do you think your chairman will react? Like, what time frame would he get, Jonas, if results that don't go the way that you want?
Well, it depends on the performances as well. It depends on if we look like we're in games or if we're just getting turned over every week and playing poorly. Also depends on what's happening round about us. If a gap starts to form between teams round about us, if we get cast adrift near the bottom, because he's been set a target of top 6, so I don't think he'll get too much leeway, because at the end of the day, the owners want to start seeing return on their investment, so they're not wanting to just buy a club to see them in a relegation battle every season. So no, I think I don't know how big his grace period will be, but he's got targets to meet, and he's certainly not immune to the same treatment as every other manager if things are consistently going wrong.
Exactly. It's really the modern football, but Celtic certainly didn't do that last season when everyone saw the writing on the wall with Lee Lennon, and he's stuck in the job, Mark. So the question is to you, like, if results don't go Ange's way, how would you think the board would react to Ange this year, or will it be the same as they did last season with Neil Lennon? Or does Ange actually need a season to breed Celtic, or does Celtic won't give him that time?
Oh, I don't think he'll need a season. I don't, and I think I mean, results are going to go a bit every week, Paul. I think the support will give him a fair chance. I don't think. I mean, again, we'll get beat. See, like Mikey's saying, he's not confident in Saturday. If we get beat, there's going to be some. Do you know what I mean? The reaction to it's going to be get Ange out and all this kind of thing. But I'm just kind of waiting to see where we're, as I said, once the window's shut and that. You know what I mean? It's shut. We see the players that we've got, the squad that we've got. We'll be better, bit more able to judge where we're going to be going forward once we see the actual squad we've got.
I think what the problem is, Mark, it's like you say, this whole thing's nothing to do with Ange. Like,
No.
I think it's just people like myself and other fans now. It's like this toxic relationship between fans and the board is just escalating. Like it's just progressively getting worse and worse and worse. And Postecoglou's just getting caught up in the middle of it. Like,
he's trying to bridge the gap. He's trying to take away what's happening at the board level. Away from the first team, Mike Yinty. He's trying to.
Like I say, the guy's not an idiot. He's been a manager for years, and he's not going to be going to try and insult the fans about what he said yesterday regarding, or maybe it was him regarding the signings. Maybe he's overlooked certain things or whatever. He's going to try and insult us by saying that would mean his back four that he would have started with without signing anybody or that, based on seeing people in training. That back four is good enough to progress.
He know, and I think Ange knows himself that back four is.
But that's fair enough. That's fair. But him coming out and saying, "Oh well, maybe it's him that's at fault," that's not going to cut the mustard.
No, No. And
Let's say it how it is. The board are too slow in getting the players in, and it's cost Celtic again for about the 6th season in a row or whatever it is in Europe. So until the board actually act or step down or do something to bridge this gap, then there's always going to be this toxicity within the club. And like what Mark said, if Celtic get beat for Hearts on Saturday, then good luck. Like
I think
repercussions to
I
that.
think you know, get into hiding. It's we need to put up with it on that forum.
See,
Well, that's fine. Like you say, that's fine. I will go into hiding myself. That's
my
because like I
taking
said,
on.
He just moans at me in private chats. He doesn't even go on the forum to do it. I have to read his messages after the game.
My
That's
take
right.
on all this, right, is that I think Andrew will only put up with so much. And Andrew's the type of manager, Mark, that he won't put up with it. He'd walk away. And that'll be my only concern is that I guarantee you, Mark, if the Celtic board don't back him, or if he thinks that, I can't see Andrew, Mark, being a Neil Lennon and let the board go out and sign players that he doesn't want. Do you know? And I really think, Mark, if they don't back him, we could end up next season with another Vin Jensen. You know? He could walk away. That's what I think. I think he'd be a manager, Mark, that he'd be only take so much, Mark, if he's not getting properly backed. Do you get me?
I know what you're meaning, Paul, but again, that goes a wee bit further up again. It's back to the board, but you'd like to think that him and Mackay would have had these conversations before he came in.
Mm-hmm.
And knew what the kind of situation was, the level was. And you said it yourself, things take time. So
I'm positive.
it was a disaster.
I'm positive for next season. I told you that, boy. I'm positive.
Honestly, if we can get players in, see the kind of level, even the players that were kind of said, well, Starfelt's coming in, the Japanese boy, if we can get Joe.
We definitely need another centre back because I was actually reading yesterday that Julian is definitely out till December at least, and that's at least.
Well, see like that then, Paul. Now,
Mm-hmm.
go and look at
6-month deal we were saying the last time, wasn't it?
a high level, right, it didn't work out too well with Duffy last year, but if we're going to look for a centre back, even look for a high level, but something a wee bit special, just to come in a 6-month loan deal to cover for Julian now.
Mm-hmm. Just going on a centre back, and at the time there was mixed reviews on him. Have we missed something on McKenna not signing him back then, or did we do the right decision not signing him? Would McKenna have been a suitable player, Mark, considering what we have now?
No.
Fair enough.
Not for me, Paul, at all. I don't think even, I mean, Joonas, would you even have took McKenna at Dundee United, Joonas?
I wasn't overly keen on him. He always looked dead slow. He always looked like laboured. And he also seems to, like, he's rash. He always seems to dive in. You know what I mean? He's always clattering into people, and I just don't think he's got the best game awareness. So
who did he go to now, actually? Where is he?
Nottingham Forest.
Nottingham Forest. Yeah, Nottingham Forest with Kasutin. Yeah.
I think he's injured. Does he not get a bad injury?
He played for Scotland during the Euros. He came on against, I think he came on against the Croatia when there was an injury. And the first thing he did was
I think
you
get injured for Nottingham Forest last season. Just thinking back, something on editing the Nottingham Forest site, there was talking being injured quite a lot.
Do you know who I thought was a decent defender for Scotland and he plays for now? Was it that fella Hadley? Was that his name? Was it?
Jesus.
He's always been a bomb scare. He just had one good tournament.
Bomb scare, is it? A bomb scare. That was my only first time seeing him now. So
God,
when I heard Mikey saying Jesus, I was going, oh Christ, no.
You want to tease me a good mate, Grant Hanley, is he?
Mikey talks him up as a regular Berezi, like.
I think like he says, based on like defenders, like I remember at the time, and there'll be a couple of guys that like what I'm ready to go and say, but I always quite rated the guy. I think he's a bit rash, but I think he can come good as the young guy he has, Brian Porteous. I actually think
I kind of there's something about him, Mikey. I quite like him as well.
Something about him. I think he's a better player. Him like and I ken that he's had a few bad tackles against Rangers and had a couple of red cares and that. Like, but I remember people saying at the time that McKenna was being mentioned, and I remember I said at the time like Ryan Porteous is 10 times better than McKenna. I thought McKenna was garbage anyway.
Was he one of the lads that Lennon had a fallout? Was it? His name sounds familiar.
I don't think so. I don't think Porteous was. I think the only problem at Hibs was it not just that Canberra? I think it was the only problem at Hibs.
I think what the young Hibs players didn't really take well to Lennon's kind of attitude and the way you treated young players and that. He was always a bit hand with them. And
that kind of followed through to Celtic then, Mark, didn't it? It's always been like that.
Aye.
You know, moving on from the transfer window, as we're talking about it, so Joonas, with the transfer window still open and you expect Dundee United to do more signs as we do said, what key positions do you think Dundee need to strike in before the transfer window closes?
We need speed in transition, so an attacking midfielder, someone that could cut a defence open and lock a door, a bit of pace out wide, some width, and I wouldn't be averse to another striker as well, like maybe a target man striker or someone with a wee bit of pace, just something different from Clark and Shanklin. But the absolute priority position is definitely a creative midfielder and width, pace out wide, and a number 10 that can open a door. That's the absolute bang, like minimum for me.
And looking from the outside, looking at this current Celtic team, Joonas, any ideas or hints maybe where we should be looking? Because we all have our own take. It's nice to hear something from the outside where other supporters think.
Well, the centre back positions, obviously, a right back, goalkeeping department, and then obviously if Edward doesn't want to be there, then a top quality striker. So unfortunately, they're probably needing reinforcements all over the pitch by the looks of it, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mark, you honestly saying about it? I think he's kind of saying basically what every Celtic fan sees at the moment, didn't he? You know,
anybody who watches Celtic or looks at them will see what we're needing, the gaps that are in the team, but we just need to, fingers crossed, it's all sorted out by the end of next month, Paul. That's all we can do.
Stevie Wonder can see better what's going on in the Celtic board. You know what I mean?
Well, like what Michael said as well, like that, if they manage to get in the boy Lapadula, that's been linked with them from Italy, a great striker, a hard working striker, but he'll score goals and he'll be committed to the cause, you know what I mean? So someone of quality at the top end of the pitch as well, because even if your defence is shaky, some games you can get away with outscoring a team, you know what I mean? You're not always going to win 2-0. So even if you end up having a couple of 3-2s or a 4-3 or a 4-2 or whatever it might be, a 2-1, then as long as you're outscoring the opposition, it doesn't always need to be clean sheet material. It can also just be outscoring, going back to basics.
I think the way Celtic are going to approach things. Kyogo's still to come into the team and Abada's settling into the team. We've said that before, Paul. It seems to be we're getting an attacking team, an attacking unit together. We're putting these players that can swap positions as we need them to swap positions and things like that. So I'd agree with that, Joonas.
I think we definitely need definitely a goalkeeper anyway, but without doubt. And if Joe Hart comes in, look, he is better than what we have, and Michael said it as well. Like, we approached him last season and we went with Barkas. That didn't pay off, so definitely need another centre back, right back, and I think we need another left back as well. You know,
I think what the irritating thing, like you said, with Joe Hart was, and he said it last season before he even signed for Tottenham, that he was wanting to sign for Celtic.
I thought that was a done deal that time.
I just found that strange that they never signed him. Why wouldn't you sign him on a free? He might have wanted more money than he'll take this year. But again, I understand it's not free because of wages and stuff, but they paid $4.5 million for Barkas. That covered Hart's wages for years. That fee alone.
What is Barkas? What is it 50K? I think he's on with Tottenham, I think.
No, I think he says, I don't know if it was Buzz or somebody in I think Joe Hart's on 27 grand a year.
That's well in Celtic's budget, like in the 30s or limit or something as this.
Well, Scott Brown was on that, and he's not even there anymore. So there's a wage freed up right away.
You know, and that's the big issue, Mark, as well, is like we still have the likes of Tom Rudgick there, who's not going to be playing every game next season. Beaton's not going to be playing every game next season. Like, these lads are taking up a wage that we could be bringing in players who we can step up to that 30 mark as well.
And,
You know?
and it's decent wages they're getting as well. That's what I'm saying, Paul, when I'm talking about players like Beaton, Rogic. They're holding back the progression of young players through the squad. That look, we spoke about Luke O'Connell. He should have Beaton's spot in the squad, because he's going to become a better player than Beaton ever was. He'll get more game time than Beaton is, because he'll be forcing his way into the manager's plans, and he'll cost us a lot less money. Sorry about that, lads, on the live chat. I'll try and get
I'm trying to delete it there.
What that's about. I can only apologise for that, lads. I don't.
You're going to have to get some clowns in the world there, so.
Arseholes, absolute arseholes, man.
British are coming.
On a different note, Joonas.
Don't even say anything, Paul.
But so I think we definitely need a striker, and even if even if he did stay, but he more likely won't, because Edouard wants to move, and it's looking Brighton will actually come in with 8.5, I'm hearing, and plus add-ons. So he might be gone. But even if he did, I definitely wouldn't be dependent on Edouard. I think a striker is a must, because I'm thinking, was he still carrying a bit of a knock yesterday, and that's why he wasn't kind of brought into the team, or does he not actually fit into Ange's style of play, Mark? There's a question there over I guess his future at Celtic, isn't there? You know?
Well, sorry, Paul. I get Mikey answer that. I'm actually reporting that to YouTube, that account and that.
Yeah. Mikey, do you think that maybe, I guess he maybe doesn't fit into Ange's plans, that he hasn't been getting a game, or
why did he play all pre-season then?
Yeah. You know, that's the question that maybe I can't understand. Do you know what I mean? That he was playing all pre-season, and then for the first two competitive games, Edouard comes in, a player who made it known to us numerous times that he actually doesn't want to be. He's looking for a move. I just can't see why. Yes, and that's why I'm thinking, does Ange not see him as part of his first team plans? Do you know what I mean? You know?
Yeah, like you say, just reading through a couple of the charts as well, and
like,
somebody's mentioned that Joe Hart's not the answer because he doesn't suit Ange's style. I mean, they do realise that we're talking about a goalkeeper here, and their number one job is to keep the ball out of the net.
Well, I can see that too, as well, because Ange wants these keepers to play with the ball. He wants them to use their feet.
Well, but he can't use his hands.
You know, but look, that's the question that came out.
Yeah, adapt to what you can know. In fact, he likes to do this. I mean, I think you were saying the other day about like the inverted fullbacks coming into the ball to collect the ball. I mean, Joe Hart can pass the ball 10.
Of course he can.
I mean, he can kick the ball. He can pass the ball 10 yards.
See, the reason I say that, right, is and I'm going to come back to what Rob was saying there, right. When Guardiola came into the Man City, he saw that Hart couldn't do that. So Hart went out and loaned to, I say, a more footballing country in Italy that play the ball more on the floor, to learn that trademark. So Hart has been learning this style of play for the last couple of years. So Hart has progressed in his feet, because
Paul, going back to like this Joe Hart thing, and you put Torino on that. Pep Guardiola also brought in any of the worst goalkeepers I've ever seen to Man City.
That's no doubt. Yeah.
See that Claudio Bravo that they brought in?
And he was brought in because of his football.
He was brought in because he was meant to be good with his feet. But he couldn't have saved the ball with his hands. That's what I mean.
But that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying that Hart went out and learned more how to play the ball with his feet. So Hart has actually been learning over the last couple of years. Not learning, I say he's improved his ball control with his feet and his distribution.
Yeah, like I say, goalkeepers, like you say, that's a hard position to fill, but like I said, you can only go on, like you say, performances in the past, reputation, and I mean, if Joe Hart is available, which he obviously is, then again, it's easy decision, eh?
I'm not meaning this to compare like Joe Hart and Greg Taylor, but it's back to what I was saying about Greg Taylor, Mikey. His first job to defend.
Mm-hmm.
He can go up and down the wing and play like Kieran Tierney and put crosses into the ball. That's a bonus. So it's
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Joe Hart will stop the ball. It's like Fraser Foster. They'll
Stop the ball.
And anything else, if they're good with their feet or whatever, that's a bonus for me. But it's
That's another thing.
stop the ball getting in the net. That's your cornerstone of where you pick your goalkeeper for.
Yeah, you're right, Mark. Like he says, Joe, like Fraser Foster and that as well. Like he was at Celtic, he was an outstanding, probably the best goalkeepers we've had in my time, like Arthur Boric and that. They were shot stoppers, eh? There was nothing fancy about any of them. They saved the bar and then they just cleared their lines.
Well,
like I say, I understand like people he wants to play it for the back and that. Unfortunately, when you're in them, like have they seen the price of some goalkeepers?
Exactly. If you're looking for the complete kind of sweeper keeper, you're talking hundreds of millions of pounds these days.
Like Manuel Neuer, like he says that he's at Bayern, he's probably the best in the world by miles at that thing. Like, he's getting a bit on now. How much would he cost?
At least about 20-25 million more.
And like Buffon and everything. Buffon was a prime example. He's the best goalkeeper ever in history. He wasn't good with his feet.
No, and even you could even see Buffon wasn't comfortable on his feet playing up from the team. But I think Hart will be key because realistically we're going to have a new back four next season. Not next season, I said during the season we're going to have a whole new back four that's going to be starting there. And to have a key experienced keeper behind you who knows how to position defenders and who can basically scream at them when they need to be screamed.
Yeah, Hart's going to
Hart will do that.
Yeah.
And that's what's needed because Bain won't do it. Barkas doesn't do it. And that's going to be key for defence next season, to know that they have someone behind her who will give them a bollocking if they make the mistake or if they're not doing the job that he wants them to do. Do you know that's why I think experienced keepers are one of the best in the world, because keepers get better as they got older. Do you get me? They older.
Maybe it's just me, like I mentioned earlier about Celtic players at Celtic when we linked with, and like when I woke up this morning and the doom and glooming, but you had the story that Celtic have approached Joe Hart. It was one of them that got me excited again. Like it was just one of them. I thought, like, great, like in the right direction. And you go on like Twitter and you see what stupid signing, useless, no played in 2 seasons, never been a good goalkeeper, overrated. You start thinking, I just don't understand the mindset. Like we're in a desperate situation for a goalkeeper right now, and it's not every day that you're going to be able to get a chance to get a goalkeeper like Joe Hart for buttons.
Joe Hart's confidence went is when Guardiola knocked him for a keeper that was worse than him, and that's going to knock anyone's confidence. Do you know what I mean? You know, Jonas, what's Seagas like on his feet?
He's not. We don't really play that style of play, and like I was saying, that coach has probably tried to get it into the system a wee bit more. He is what you expect for a guy that's 6 foot 8. He probably isn't the most graceful with the ball at his feet. So, but again, I'm of the old sort of vintage where
it's just the same as me. You want your keeper to save the ball.
And at the end of the day,
yeah,
I'd rather take a few moans and groans from the stands if he hoofs the ball into the stand than overplaying it and conceding a goal from it, because I'll tell you that the backlash would be 100 times worse than a few moans from a ball going into the stand. I can assure you that.
Well, Jonas will tell you, like you say, Benjamin Siegrist, probably United's best player last season. I never seen him once try to pass it out or be fancy ever the whole season. How many shots did he save last season, Jonas?
140 odd. He was about 40 saves ahead of the second goalkeeper in the list.
And Celtic fans have been clamouring for to sign him. He's just a shot stopper.
Exactly. And like, I was going to say there, I don't know.
I'm still trying to get over Robert McNair in the chat saying Hearts finished at 34. And I'm 34 myself, so I'm in deep trouble here like that.
Well, I'm well past it anyway.
34 dog years.
Oh yeah, so I'm 34. I'm 35 in December.
I'm 39.
I'm in big trouble.
39?
No, that's me. I'm 39.
Look at,
I'm 39.
That's what it was. I get you mixed up with Mikey. I thought Mikey was 39. He just shifted about that part like that day.
Body of
it was my hair, is it?
body of a
It's my
body
hairline
of a
there,
50-year-old.
That's 39-year-old hairline I've got.
Rab, I think Rab likes a wee bit of trolling, Mikey. Does he know?
No, I can understand. If Joe Hart, the goalkeeper's finished at 34, then
Was it not him that wanted McGregor sold? I know.
yeah, I think he's changed his name since then. Though he was Rab, now he's Robert after he said that about
Okay,
McGregor.
lads, we move on. So, Mikey, seeing what you saw in the last two competitive games and things, what a key now for Celtic to get players in and the positions.
The whole back line.
Mm-hmm.
Like he says, and the whole back line and a striker.
That's it, like, because there's no issues in midfield. Like that seems to be our strongest area. And our wings now seems to be sorted as well. Abada, we've young Dembele, who unfortunately picked up the injury, but I presume he'll play some part as well next season. We've the Japanese lad, Kairi Furuhashi, coming in. Like, our wings are kind of sorted. Like, it's big a striker, and I think we need a full new backline. You know, I don't think Taylor is cut out to play under Ange, and looking at that, just I don't think he is. I think he was caught out too many times in position yesterday, and that's the way Ange wants to play. He will be caught out. And I know you said you want to defend it free, but Ange is not going to play that way, so we have to go by the way Ange wants to play. Do you get me?
Yeah, I understand.
You know, and Taylor's not going to do that. Like, you know what I mean?
I understand what you're saying, but you can only play that way if you've got the players to actually.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, if he's not got the players to do it.
We need the players in to do that.
Adapt what the players we've got to a wee tweaky system. The new going forward the next couple of weeks.
The only defender that's there, and Mickey said he didn't understand why he was playing that can fit Ange's style of play is Bolingoli on the wings, and he's the only defender actually we have that I think would be able to play Ange's system. And I don't know what's the deal. Is he going to be part of the plans? Is he going to be so? Like, there's so uncertainty over players at the moment that we don't know. Do you know what I mean?
I don't think Barkas is going to leave. I think even if Hart comes in, it's Hart and Barkas will be fighting over the number 1 jersey.
Can you see Bain leaving summer, or are we going to keep the three of them?
I think Bain could leave. I was thinking about it today when I was thinking about Bart signing. That's the way I'm thinking. Yeah, it came out a couple of weeks ago. Barkas was staying.
Mm-hmm.
He's not looking for a move anymore. His agent's not selling him, punting him about.
And if Hart did come in, like, for me, like, that would be a benefit to Barkas as well. Like, long enough an experienced keeper like Joe Hart, like, you know what I mean?
Well, maybe
you know,
Casey were bringing in Joe Hart for a year. It's up to Barkas to prove over this following year to try and dislodge Joe Hart or prove that he's good enough to be next season Celtic's number 1.
I understand what you're saying, Mark, but like I said, with Joe Hart only being 34, I think he'll come into Celtic. I think he'll hit the ground running.
I think it'll be a 2-year contract. I think, Mikey, they're looking at is a 2-year contract. Or something
I just can't see Barkas ever dislodging Joe Hart as a thing. I understand, like you said.
I think we have to cut our losses with Barkas. That's my opinion.
I have like I said, regarding like Bain and that, I heard a rumour that Dundee United were signing Skpe and beat on, so good luck, Joonas.
Lee Griffiths and loan.
Well, I'll make sure I've got my hip flask filled in for next Saturday as well then, eh? That wasn't due to come out until the first away day, but I might need to hasten that to the first home game if that's the case.
You know, so lads, before we close the show, I'm going to ask you for final predictions on both teams. Mark, I go to yourself first.
For league position?
Final, yeah, for both teams. Like,
I said earlier on, said to Mike in the live chat, yeah, Or no, I said to Jai, yeah, I think Celtic will be first, Aberdeen second, and just Jonas is on the podcast, I'll say Dundee United will be fourth.
Jonas?
Yeah, I think
Give us
Celtic will-
realistic now, Jonas. Like, no, if you don't think Celtic finish top, like, don't say it. Like, you know what I mean?
No, like, I think I'll say this for both teams. Depending on signings, if Celtic sign the right players, they can win the league. And if we sign the right players, we can challenge for top 6. If we don't, it'll be a slog, and we'll probably be anywhere between 10th and 7th.
Is Europe a too far task for you, Jonas, to break into the top 3-4 at the moment, you think? Or do you need another year in the season?
It all depends on who we get in. Top 6 has got to be achieved. And then, like I say, depending on what goes on above us, if Hearts and Aberdeen if Hearts and Hibs are cutting each other's throats, depending on how we get on in cup runs with the extended Europa Conference places and that, there might be a chance, but again, it's heavily dependent on recruitment.
You see,
See Dundee United as a top 6 team. I know just saying that.
No, but our club size, like, and most fans at any club in Scotland will say that, apart from probably the most bitter, probably Dundee supporters, but yeah, everybody knows that, like, but it's like you say, Mark, everything's dependent on what you've got on the pitch. It's the tools that you've got on your toolbox, you know?
Falling into place, but after Dundee United will finish in the top 6, Jonas. I'll stick by you, bud.
I might need to pull you up on that come May time, we'll see.
Mickey?
I think Celtic, as it stands with the current squad, will struggle to finish second. If Celtic didn't get their arse in gear and sign players within the next few weeks, like I says, based on the current squad, they'll struggle to finish second. I think Dundee United will finish 5th. Easy. That's just me being honest. I'm not trying to, like says, I've tried to be positive. It's good. I'm only being honest on Celtic.
Well, Mickey, you're one of the most positive guys we saw with Celtic at the start of the transfer. Look, I can see where you're coming from, Mark. It's all down to Celtic signing the players. That's key.
See what Mikey's saying there? I agree with him. The squad, the way it's sitting right here, the now would struggle. But I'm planning what's going to happen in the next few weeks is going to make a difference for us.
I just hope we have
Maybe second. I agree with that.
players in, Mark, for the first. When is the transfer window closing? Is it September?
No, well, the 31st of August.
And when's the first Glasgow derby? That's in August, isn't it?
Aye.
So I'm just hoping we have players in before Denmark and be able to set a marker to Rangers. Do you get me? You know?
Signing's in before that. Signing's in before then, Paul. We're talking
Like
about a month away.
just put something in the chat there. Like, if you go on the net just now, they're hoping that Joe Hart and that Aurelia Buta, the right back, is going to be announced in the morning. So, I mean, if we can get the guys in tomorrow and that and get them in, because I think they're meant to be. I think that Buta is meant to be in Glasgow just now, is he? So if he's been in Glasgow, like
earlier, Mike, he's meant to be.
Who's that?
Buta.
So if he
is he? Yeah.
So that's the right. Like that's. I wouldn't say that. Like obviously that's key, but I'll give credit where credit's due, and Ralston can hold his head up high after the last night's performance.
Without doubt, and I mean that now. In fairness, like, you know, he got stick, and I gave it to him, but the lad did put in a shift yesterday, you know, and you have to give him that. Like, he really did. He really did put in a shift yesterday. You know.
So yeah, like without the doom and gloom, as his current squad sits right now, I struggle to come second. If they get the right players in the next 2 weeks, easy being able to challenge, because they're no great shakes there. They're just well organised.
Exactly.
That's that. Right, they won the league, but they're not a good team. They're just a well organised, well drilled team. And when they take Celtic are more than capable of taking over Rangers this season. I've no doubt on it. Again, make the right signings and start.
And that's
Look, I've said it to you the other day, Paul. Start just forgetting about what they're doing and move. We're doing. Keep going with our plan. stick with what's driving us forward.
Because, Mark, that's what Andrew will bring into the squad. He'll bring in the structure that's needed that we didn't have under Lennon. He'll bring in. You can already see from the attacking point of view that players know what they're doing. Do you get me? It's just that we're struggling at the back, and once we get defenders in, and if Joe Hart comes in, we'll be able to see what Ange is capable of as a manager at Celtic.
I'm saying, see in 4 weeks' time, Paul, this Celtic team will be unrecognisable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there'll be not a lot of new players. There'll be a few new players in, and Ange's plans will be more in place. The players will be used to working with him, and we'll start seeing things moving on. I still want to make it. We'll struggle to win on Saturday, and I'll speak to him. I'll speak about that with him offline and pull him up for it.
So that's it. Mikey, do you have anything to go before we go? Not your goal now again, Jesus Christ, we've enough of that, but things Celtic related.
I'm just looking forward to my chat with Mark, either tomorrow or that regarding the Hearts game, because, like you say, as it stands right now, we'll struggle to beat Hearts, so.
Joonas, anything?
No, like you say, lads, been obviously great being on again. Cheers for the invite and stuff like that. And like you say, let's just hope that the next time that we're having a chat, you're no trying to talk me down off the Tay Bridge after our first 7 games of the season being a poor start.
So that's it from tonight's show. This is our first of our Scottish football show. We will be doing this show at the end of each month. We will be looking at the month just gone, the Scottish football show it will call. So for myself, thanks to Joonas, our next Scottish football show will be at the end of August. Joonas, I hope you'll be a regular on the Scottish football show with us.
But home this will become even a monthly thing, Joonas. You're more than welcome anytime, you know that, but we can arrange towards the end of the month.
At the end of the month, we review the last few 4 weeks games then.
On and what's happening just in general with Scottish football, more.
Yeah, no, that's something I'd definitely be up for.
Even, Joonas, if you know any pals or you and Mike, and other guys that support other teams, they're more than welcome to come on, apart from Lemons. But honestly, we're going to try and do that every once a month. We'll kind of review the month in general of Scottish football and the month going forward. We're just being concentrating.
No problem, lads.
Thanks, Joonas, really top man for coming on, and Mike.
Cheers, guys.
For myself, thanks to the live chat, to Michael, to Joonas for coming on. As you know, this show was sponsored by Manscaped, proud sponsors of Celtic Rumours TV, where the big boys hang out. Mark will now close the show.
Just what I was saying there, thanks very much to Joonas and Mikey for coming on. Thanks to you again, Paul, and everybody joined us on the chat. If you haven't subscribed, please do it. Remember, thumbs up. Good night. God bless.
Cheers. See you later. Thanks.
Cheers.